Thank you for coming out tonight. It's great to see such a large crowd out in Southampton Village this evening. The time is 6:04 p.m. It's Thursday, January 12th, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. As per usual, I'd like to ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, in typical meetings, we usually start with public comment, but seeing that we have the Employee of the Month recognition and the recognition for the newly appointed Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance Officers and the 2023 Southampton Village Fire Department Officers, I think it's fitting that we recognize those first responders first and then go into public comment, which might be substantial tonight. So with that being said, this evening we'd like to recognize two Employees of the Month for their exceptional service to the village. We have a P.O. Ed Reed and P.O. Matt Stetler, who are...
well, they might be on the hall.
They might be in the hall. Okay.
Yeah.
How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you too. Is P.O. Stetler out there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I saw them both. What is that?
Officer Stetler, nice to see you. So, Sergeant Dorchek, would you like to maybe introduce them? I know you had nominated them, and then we'll say a few words as well. But we have two officers who have essentially done just an outstanding job day after day, who's also done, life-saving services to the village. And I'd like to, if it's okay, Sergeant Dorchek, I'd like to turn this over to you. Perhaps you can tell the audience what they've done, and then we'll second and third that.
Sure. Thank you. Officer Reed and Officer Stetler both worked at midnights back in December. Can you go to the microphone? Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Officer Stetler and Officer Reed were working midnights back in December when a call came in for a family that was looking for their daughter who they thought was suicidal. They were able to determine where the woman was down off the beach, and she was in the water. These two officers went down to the beach, located her, went into the surf, and pulled her from the water. So they did an outstanding job. They were able to pull her back and get her help, and they were able to transport her to a doctor so she could be treated. So they did an outstanding job. That's why I nominated them for Employee of the Month.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Officer Stetler and Officer Reed have acted selflessly. They have put other lives in front of their own. They're dedicated members of our community. They're involved in numerous other causes, and they have really provided unwavering support to the Southampton Village and the greater community, for that matter. Again, they're active charitable members of their respective communities, and they've done an outstanding job servicing this village. And I can say on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we're extremely proud of your great work to the village, and we're very lucky to have you both as part of our village community. So thank you again. And I was very fortunate to, when I was first elected in 2019, Officer Stetler was one of the first hires that we made as a village board, and we were very lucky to have that opportunity. Even Sister Kathy had put in a good word for you. So thank you very much. So gentlemen, thank you again for your outstanding work. I'm not sure if any board members would like to say anything else, but we really thank you again.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Dorchek. All right, so we'll move on to the first board presentation, and then we'll go to public comment. We'd like to recognize the newly appointed 2023 Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance Officers, and then we'll move to the fire department. But I must say, like our two patrol officers, we are extremely fortunate to have the best fire department and the best emergency services department that I could recognize really in New York State. We are fortunate as a community to have outstanding volunteers, both their volunteer organizations, and when we here as elected officials that other communities are declining in population of their volunteer departments, we can see us increasing, and that goes to the culture and to the traditions and to the great service that these two organizations provide, and that's in large in part to the members and their chiefs, who do an outstanding job. So we'd like to first start with the volunteer ambulance officers, and we'd like to call them up, and we'd like to recognize them. So everyone feel free to come on up, and I'm not sure if the new chiefs would like to say a few words, and if Jim McGinnis, nice to see you. So perhaps you guys, we can come down and congratulate, but if you'd like to say a few words, we'd love to hear from you. And then we could also do the oath of office as well.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kyle McGinnis. I was born and raised in Southampton. Been in the ambulance for approximately 13 years now, a paramedic, and I just got elected chief of department. Being a volunteer is something I am very proud of, and I enjoy helping the community and being there for others. So thank you for your support, and I look forward to working with the board as I take the oath of chief of department. Thank you.
Thank you.
To ride on the curtails of Kyle, I also grew up in Southampton. Growing up, going to Southampton School District, everything took place in the village, so it's nice to come here and pay back and give some form of civil service back to the village. I look forward to working with you guys in my new role of First Assistant Chief and having the best lead me and the best by my side, so I look forward to everything. Thank you.
As the other two, I also grew up in Southampton. I've lived here all my life. I've been in the ambulance approximately 6 years, and I'm fortunate to have other chiefs ahead of me that did a phenomenal job, and I hope to continue doing that and working with the board and making sure that this village is covered by the ambulance.
So perhaps we can all go down, congratulate them, and we can do the oath of office. And by the way, First Assistant Chief Murphy, I give you a lot of credit because he's also a public school teacher as well, so he's on double or triple duty sometimes, serving all the various communities on Long Island.
It's Kyle's spot, baby. Is it? Yeah. He probably wants us back.
I'll have everyone just just do half and half, and then I'll have the three of you once I get everyone assembled. Just so you can stand right there. Trustee Stevenson and Trustee Brown, just go right over here, love. So this way we have symmetry. My apologies. So good. And then once I conduct the, I'll back up. I'll just speak a little louder. Okay. So for the three that are going for Kyle, Robert, and Colby, you're going to raise your right hand. And then I'm going to start off, and then when I say I, then you'll start with your name. So on behalf of the state of New York, the county of Suffolk, the village of Southampton, I, and
Colby Gill. Kyle McGinnis. Robert Murphy.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of New York,
the Constitution of the state of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of chief,
of chief,
of first assistant chief,
first assistant chief,
and second assistant chief,
second assistant chief,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my
Okay,
ability.
you're officially sworn in. Congratulations. And now you can take pictures. Anyone that wants something? Go for it. I'm gonna go for it. How long do we have?
Go, look over this way.
Thank you, Love. Thanks, Steve. And then stand by. I'm gonna take the official moment. Anyone hasn't realized yet I was in the military, you can hear that. Yes. So good. Okay, great. That's perfect. Congratulations.
So again, we are extremely proud as a Board of Trustees of our EMS and first responders. And we now have our Southampton Village Fire Department, the very best fire department out there. And we wanted to recognize Fire Chief Emmanuel Manny Escobar, First Assistant Chief Polis Walker, and Second Assistant Chief Richard Fowler. So gentlemen, come on up. Congratulations on your election. Gentlemen, or Manny, if you'd like to say a few words, feel free to come up to the podium. If not, we can come on down and do the oath of office with you. But again, I could not be prouder, we could not be prouder of this group here. This is the very best fire department out there. They have proven this over and over again, whether it's the response time, whether it's the culture of the organization, whether it's just the great men and women of this department. We cannot be more proud of this group right here. And you and the first responders and our village police department are really what make our village special. And we're so happy for you to be here tonight. It's a true honor to have this whole group with us at our village hall, at our board meeting this evening. So thank you again and congratulations.
Manny, you can go on the podium.
Say a few words. Again, my name is Emmanuel Escobar, and known as Manny. And it's an honor to be here, really is. I was born in Mineola, Long Island. Lived Long Island my whole life. Except for 3 years, I lived in El Salvador to learn Spanish. And just something that I never dreamed of to be up here and become a chief of the fire department, but it is an honor, and I'm looking forward to it. I have great men and women behind me, and it's going to be an amazing year. So thank you for, Mayor, thank you, Trustee, and the village for trusting us, and we're going to do an amazing job. Thank you.
So Kathy, should we do the swearing in? Would the board like to come on down again, or? Okay.
Get a little crowded down there, but
Yeah.
that's okay. Yeah, they did. But Polis isn't here. Where is Polis? John.
I'm very happy that the chief now, so we have a lot of work to do. Thank you, Manny.
Manny, great job. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go back here.
All right, thank you everyone for being here. So for all of the folks that are getting sworn in, the fire department personnel, raise your right hand. On behalf of the state of New York, the county of Suffolk, the village of Southampton, I, repeat your name. Very good. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of, and then repeat what your duty will be. Very good. According to the best of my ability. Congratulations. Congratulations. All right, take pictures, everyone. Big one, I just reached them.
I thought that's what
Take one more. I gotta take the official.
I've seen him.
If you don't mind,
All right, that's perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Make sure everyone sees me, sign the book.
You have to sign the book.
Oh, yeah.
Manny, if you don't sign, it's not official.
Thank you so much for everything you do. You guys are
Oh, 78 years.
Are you down there too?
Want me to take this?
No, I got out of the back.
Oh, okay.
I thought you wanted to be in with all the firemen.
That's revised?
You want to be a volunteer fireman now?
Is this revised?
Might be easier.
Yes, I guess she sent it, she gave it sent it out a few minutes ago.
What's this?
All right, so
I
we are
Kathy
not
just handed
done
them
yet
just in case.
recognizing some individuals tonight. We have at least one more individual recognized, but I first just wanted to thank all of the ex-chiefs who were here and who left. The ex-chiefs come in and they establish a standards of excellence and serve as mentors at times for the ingoing chiefs. So we have a great group of ex-chiefs who are always there, willing to help when asked, but they have served the fire department nobly, and we're also very proud of our ex-chiefs. And in particular, tonight we wanted to recognize, our Board of Trustees wanted to recognize Alfie Callahan, who is the outgoing chief of the Village Fire Department, and a PSD, a dispatcher, and a member of basically every other emergency service organization. I do not know how he does it. I do know that he was actually at my house at 1 o'clock in the morning one night for a false alarm, but he literally is just someone who does it all, who has served the village, the town, the overall community at the highest level, and we are also extremely proud of Alfie for all the work that he's done on behalf of all of us. He is what makes our community special and epitomizes the very, very best of Southampton Village. And one of the things that we look up to is his work and the other work of the first responders. So, Alfie, we just wanted to thank you and recognize you. This is the least we can do. We'd like to present you with a proclamation this evening. I guess we'll read it, but
Want
it's
to
just...
say anything?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Haven't you heard enough from me over the last?
We didn't actually have enough, we barely had enough room on this proclamation given all the achievements that you have.
Would
So,
have actually gotten dressed.
so here's a proclamation we'd like to issue to Alfie Callahan. And again, this is on behalf of our Board of Trustees. And whereas the Village of Southampton wishes to celebrate Alfred Callahan for his service to our residents as a member of the Southampton Fire Department, and whereas Alfred Callahan joined Southampton Hose Company No. 1 on September 1st, 2009, and also served as assistant head driver from January 1st, 2011 through May 31st, 2011. He was elected as first lieutenant on June 1st, 2011, and went on to be elected captain on January 1st, 2015, assistant chief on January 1st, 2017, first assistant chief January 2019, and finally chief of the department, a role he served in from January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2022. And whereas Alfred Callahan quickly moved up the ranks of the department thanks to his hard work and dedication to the people of Southampton. He was recognized for that dedication by being awarded Officer of the Year in 2014. He also received an honorable mention from FASNY for his heroic actions involving a water rescue on Shinnecock Bay on December 8, 2012. He additionally received a pre-hospital Save Award in recognition for a life he saved on January 8, 2019.
and former Chief Callahan continues to teach and train members of the department to this day. And whereas Alfred Callahan is an inspiration for all seeking to help others, the Village of Southampton is fortunate for his service to our residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Jesse Warren, Mayor of Southampton, and our Board of Trustees unanimously express our sincere appreciation for Alfie, or Alfred Callahan, for all he has done for all of our residents, and we wish him the best in his future endeavors. Signed this day. Thank you very much. Congratulations. We really
Alfie, quick photo.
Beautiful life.
All right. Want to pass over again? There we go.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's for the
All right. Stay on the cover tomorrow.
Gotta go to the podium.
That's okay, too, so, okay.
So first off, I'd like to thank everybody. Was not expecting this. I was down here tonight to make sure somebody else was sworn in, and I was off the hook. Would have gotten a little bit more dressed up, but it has been a very, it's been an honor serving this department, leading this department the last couple of years. Chiefs come and go and do what they can. The number one job is to make sure all of our members and hopefully all of the members of this community go home safe at the end of every day. And as a volunteer, if you can get through 6 years of that in the Chiefs ranks and all of your members made it home at the end of every day and you didn't lose anybody, then that's all you can really ask for. I think all the other nonsense, the budgets, some of the butting heads we've done, and some of the other political side of things is it's necessary, but I think at the end of the day, we're all here for the same purpose. This is a great community. I look forward to serving it continuously at the police department, and I look forward to seeing everybody out there just a little bit more casually and a little bit more relaxed. So thank you for this. Thank you, everybody, and look forward to seeing you out there.
And thank you.
Thank you again, gentlemen. I also see a few other people in the crowd. I wanted to recognize Dan Farrell, one of our PSDs who's been with us for a very long time. So when you have an emergency and you pick up the phone, chances are you might actually get him. But we have such a great group. Thank you, Mr. Horseman, for coming out, one of our detectives, K-9 officer as well. Thank you. And we're very fortunate, and we obviously have some students here. We'll get to this group in a little bit, but there are no words that could just describe, again, how gracious we are, how proud we are, and as demonstrated here to the public tonight, we're just very lucky to be around these great men and women. So thank you again. That will probably be the more exciting portion of this meeting. We'll be going into public comment. There's no need to stay.
Mr.
But
Mayor, can I just,
yeah, please.
As liaison to the fire department and the ambulance service for the last year and a half, I'd just like to offer my personal thanks to the outgoing chiefs, Alfie Callahan and Shane Finocchiaro. They deserve our highest praise, as the mayor has stated, for the incredible leadership they provided for their respective organizations. Our fire and ambulance services and the men and women who serve them represent the best in our community, providing the highest levels of response and results while giving their time and effort and sweat and blood as volunteers. During their term, Shane and Alfie have worked tirelessly with me. In doing so, have followed in the footsteps of their predecessors to continue to improve the professionalism and efficiency of their departments. I'm so proud and grateful for the work they have done and thank them from the bottom of my heart. At the same time, I congratulate and look forward to working with the new fire chief, Manny Escobar, and his first and second assistant chiefs, Polis Walker and Ricky Fowler, and the newly elected ambulance chief, Kyle McGinnis, and his first and second assistant chiefs, Robert Murphy and Colby Gill. Manny and Kyle certainly have big shoes to fill, but I have every confidence they will serve as exemplary leaders in the tradition of their organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Keith. Would any other board members like to make a comment?
No, just that I've enjoyed very much working with you, Alfie, over the last 6 months that I've been on the board. I feel like we got to know each other very quickly. I remember you as a boy, and it was great to be able to work with you, and I wish you all the best and look forward to you still working for the police department. Thank you.
It was very good to get to know you, Alfie. I'm so happy you're going to have some time to spend with your beautiful wife and 4 little girls, which is well deserved, and I'm sure they're very happy. Thank you.
Alfie,
Now they won't.
Alfie, you are dear to the board, and I'm sure you are dear to the village, and we thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so with that being said, we do have to continue on with our meeting. There is plenty of village business to do. Again, everyone is welcome to stay. So we are going to now move to the public comment portion of our conversation. Charlene may have some names, so we'll begin with the sign-in sheet. But if there's anyone here who'd like to sign up, there's a sheet here, and after the in-person comment, we'll move to the Zoom comments.
Dorinda Freeman? You got 3 minutes.
That's right, and as Charlene said, each speaker will have 3 minutes. At that point, a bell may ring, or we may just simply ask you to move on to the next speaker. And so thank you, Dorinda.
Good evening. My name is Dorinda Freeman. For over 30 years, my husband and I have maintained a home on Bishop's Lane and McGee Street. We have complained of West Village traffic problems and a few letters to the trustees. A few months ago, I sent a letter to you with a possible solution to the problem, namely prohibiting right turns onto Hill Street from Bishop's and Somerset during weekday rush hours. I believe this could have solved most or all of the problems. And so I and my neighbors were shocked when some weeks ago the village, instead of giving even a trial to that simple solution, and apparently without notice or other public actions, erected an odious collection of iron gates, sawhorses, traffic cones, sandbags, and huge signs closing all access, driving or on foot, to Somerset from McGee. In addition, 2 unnecessary stop signs have appeared in a curve, not a crossing, a curve, of McGee at Somerset. The result of the above has been to make Somerset area a private cul-de-sac for the benefit of the apparent chosen ones there, while insulating them from the neighborhood and leaving the rest of us to fend for ourselves against the traffic. Frustrated drivers continue to line Bishop's Lane, bumper to bumper. Some make U-turns at the former entrance to Somerset and frantically try returning to Bishop's via McGee or by slipping through North Captain's Neck Lane. Our neighbors from Bishop's Pond now have little choice but to use Bishop's Lane when going to Hill Street. I question if whoever took this action considered whether the original traffic flow studies for Bishop's Pond contemplating the closing of Somerset. All of this is unacceptable. For over 3 decades, my husband and I have traversed the streets of Somerset with our neighbors there, and they ours. Yet a problem that probably could have been solved with 2 street signs has been bootstrapped into a prohibition of access, an institution of privilege, and the partial destruction of a neighborhood. Thus, I wish to know the following. 1, what are the trustees' plans for the blockade at McGee and Somerset, which at present looks like Checkpoint Charlie? 2, when and in what manner will the residents of Bishop's, North Captain's Neck, and McGee be given relief? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a copy to submit to the record.
Yeah, please give it to the administrator.
Thank you very much, Dorinda.
David Wrong?
David Wrong, 85 Pleasant Lane. I'd like to continue my comments on the assessed value of properties which the village uses to allocate the tax burden to village residents. I want to address the owners of the lower valued properties in the village because you are the ones who are being forced to pay a disproportionately high amount of the taxes. For example, the property owners at 53 Windward Way, at 63 Dale Street, at 124 Willow Street, at 170 Breeze Lane, pay 3 times in taxes in relation to value as the owners of 50 Cooper's Neck, 96 Leo's Lane, 468 First Neck, 117 Wickaponic. I believe the owners of the lower valued properties should do 2 things. One, that they should file a grievance. The filing date is February 15th. The form is available on the village website. You need to insist on reducing the assessed value of your homes to the same ratio given to the high valued properties. The other thing you should do is to find trustee candidates who actually care about you. I assure you that does not include the 4 individuals who are presently trustees. You have the power of the vote. The residents of the high value properties who would have their taxes increased do not vote here. Find candidates who care about you. Find candidates who believe in fairness. Finally, we need to find an attorney who will file a class action lawsuit against the village. The present system is arcane, produces absurd results, discriminates against a class of residents. The village includes a blatant lie on every real estate invoice that it sends out, and it refuses to inform the residents of how assessed values are determined. It will only listen to a lawsuit.
Thank you, David. Charlene, do we have a name for our next speaker here?
Eric Rydell.
Mayor, trustees, my name is Eric Rydell. I live at 59 North Captain's Lane here in the village, which is located at a blind 90-degree turn where the traffic from McGee Street, which is now blocked at Somerset Ave, has been redirected. Knowing that the trustees have been grappling with the congestion in the village now for months, I went back and I watched all the trustee meetings from September when I believe this issue first got raised on Somerset Ave until now. And I was definitely encouraged by the village's commitment to addressing the traffic congestion problems. As Trustee Aresta, I believe, correctly recognized, this problem is caused by commuter traffic, and the ultimate solution is keeping the traffic on the highway and limiting the commuters' use and abuse of the village streets. At the last meeting, the Somerset residents discussed the 3 90-degree turns in the neighborhood. Never once did they mention the 4th 90-degree turn in the neighborhood, which is the one at the corner of North Captain's Neck and Bishop's Court. Like Somerset, this 4th 90-degree turn is also impacted by the commuter traffic that flows from McGee Street towards Hill Street. I'm not trying to diminish the dangers of those 3 90-degree turns on Somerset. Something needs to be done about that to improve the traffic safety there. But the corner, if you haven't been there, of North Captain's Neck and Bishop's Court, it's steep, it's blind, and it's uniquely dangerous. Last summer I was coming back home with my niece. We were just riding scooters, and she was coming down the hill, got too much speed, lost control, hit the curb, and went over the handlebars. She got bloodied up. But this coming summer, my fear is that it's not only going to be scooters and residential people who are going down this street, which usually is in a high volume traffic area, but it'll be all of the cars that are now forced to are diverted from Somerset that now need another way around, who will be going through the Bishop's Court and North Captain's Neck kind of corridor. So I ask that before the village makes permanent the drastic step of closing Somerset, a street that has been open to through traffic for nearly 50 years, and I believe open to through traffic when the North Captain's Neck development was installed, presumably relying on that traffic pattern. The village take an incremental data-based approach to ensure that not only the residents of Somerset, but also the surrounding streets are protected from the commuter traffic impacting the village residents. You know, the village performed a no left-hand turn study. That's a great first step. But aren't there other options? Trustee Brown, you brought up new ideas, and I know that the Board of Trustees has been entertaining several new ideas. But what about stop signs? There's no stop signs on any of the curves. I know this is something that's recently been implemented by the trustees. 2 stop signs that was mentioned a little while ago were just added on McGee. Seems to me a reasonable solution would be adding 2 stop signs at each one of those blind turns on Somerset as an initial stop.
It's 3 minutes.
If I just a couple sentences left. But in addition to stop signs, there's speed bumps. There's no speed bumps there. And there's no stoplight cameras. You know, I was in the Navy before this, transferred to a new duty station on my way to the base. In my very first month, you know, I didn't come to a full stop. I came to a rolling stop. I got 2 traffic tickets in the mail. You can believe me that after that, I came to a complete stop, whether or not it was a yellow light, almost red, it didn't matter. You know, getting those tickets changed my behavior. I feel like there are some solutions other than closing the road that can be implemented, such as stop signs, cameras, tickets, that would change people's behavior. So to close, you know, the families, children, grandchildren that traverse the area that play near that 4th blind 90-degree turn at Captain's Neck and Bishop's Court, you know, including my 2 children, deserve equally to be considered by the village as it works towards developing a solution for the summer traffic that it really has been kind of terrorizing the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rydell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Holman?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Robert Holmain. I lived in Southampton for over 25 years, the last 20 of which on Bishop's Court. I'd like to address the Somerset Avenue blockade. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts on the Somerset Avenue road closure. It's my understanding the road was blocked off because there was a safety issue on both Somerset and Pleasant Avenues caused by drivers exceeding the speed limit. While that issue may be present on those avenues, they are not unique. The same safety issue is present across all of the streets in the area where commuters are trying to get through the traffic on CR 39 and Hill Street. But eliminating the safety issue on Somerset and Pleasant has had the effect of increasing the safety issue on the adjacent streets of North Captain's Neck, Bishop's Lane, and Bishop's Court. We should all share the traffic and resulting safety issues together. Where did you expect the traffic to go? It seems obvious that the traffic that used to transit Somerset and Pleasant to get to Hill Street would have to find another route. The closest being Bishop's Lane, North Captain's Neck, and Bishop's Court. I don't need to cite NTSB traffic and accident statistics to tell you what impact the closure at Somerset would bring on neighboring streets. It should have been abundantly clear. On the north side of Hill Street, Somerset, Bishop's Lane, Corrigan, Moses, Halsey, Breeze Lane are all access points to Hill Street. On the south side of Hill, Lee Avenue, Captain's Neck, Halsey Neck, First Neck, and even Ponds Lane are used as access points via ox pasture to get to Hill Street. And don't forget about South Main and Little Plains. In the height of summer, these roads are used too to try to bypass traffic on 39 and Hill Street. If it's not clear, the reason people are trying these routes is to find the quickest way to the west end of Hill Street. They know that they can, if they get down there, they know that they can cut off all of that traffic and nose themselves into the bumper-to-bumper traffic and bypass the many cars inching along Hill Street. When those 2 access points get backed up, people try the next best option, Captain's Neck from the south and Bishop's Lane from the north.
30 seconds left.
So again, we should all share in the burden rather than trying to fix one piece of the greater problem, as you did with the Somerset closure. If you don't reopen Somerset, then I suspect you'll have each of the homeowners on all of the access streets mentioned above from both the north and the south complaining of the increased traffic and safety issues. And I would note, if you look at a village map, the area that I describe as access roads to Hill Street encompass roughly 1/3 of the village, and likely, because of increased density on the streets north of Hill Street, more than 1/3 of the village taxpayers are being impacted unfairly by our action in closing off Somerset. In closing, I would hope that the action taken thus far to trying to ease the safety issue in one neighborhood has had a negative effect on the neighboring streets and neighborhoods, and it will only get worse in the summer months. Until a global solution for the traffic issue plaguing Southampton is arrived at, I implore you to remove the barrier at Somerset and North Captain's Neck and restore the equitable traffic and safety burden we should all share. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Toby Alfred.
Toby Alfred, 1504 Devon Court, Bishop's Pond, a year-round resident. I'm here to speak about the abrupt closure of Somerset Avenue to vehicular, pedestrian, and bicycle traffic. While I and most villagers appreciate the serious traffic problem our village has and concerns about safety that our neighbors have expressed, this closing was both arbitrary, capricious, and potentially discriminatory. No traffic studies or safety investigation occurred prior to closing a necessary through street. The closure is both an inconvenience, an eyesore, a furthering of the traffic problems, and a safety issue as traffic now backs up onto smaller streets. During rush hour, all traffic is now funneled onto the very narrow streets of Bishop's Lane, causing backups onto McGee and Captain's Neck that affect my safety and the safety of the neighborhood. If someone was trying to get to the hospital, it could add more than 10 minutes to their drive, something that could seriously put a life at risk. While the issue of safety has been raised by my neighbors and I respect their concerns, the response of closing the street to all traffic is excessive. If there are concerns about the two bends in the street creating a problem, these bends in the street have existed for 50 years. This now seemingly sudden problem can be addressed by putting speed bumps in to slow traffic down. This method has been done in communities across the nation faced with increased traffic flow through residential neighborhoods. Other methods that could be used rather than closing the street could actually generate revenue for the village. This could be putting in speed cameras to limit the speed, as well as more patrol by our village police, making it well known that speeders will be caught and ticketed. Implementation of less radical methods than closing a public street and effectively privatizing a community can be done to improve the safety on Somerset Avenue. Arguments have been raised that this was not meant to be a through street. A street that its inception 50 years ago was not permitted to be a private community by wise trustees and permitting processes should not be reversed by the arbitrary actions today. Our community has grown and we frankly need every traffic venue available to us. By closing this street, the village has privatized the community without due process or compensation. The only benefit here is to the residents of Somerset, whose property values will increase because they could now say they live in a neighborhood with limited access. Meanwhile, more than 100 homes on neighboring streets are adversely affected by increased traffic, limited access, and an eyesore. Implementation of the street closure is inappropriate, as it has misrepresented the permanence of this closure. The signage indicating this is for a private neighborhood event is factually untrue and led some to believe that the street will actually reopen. As a result, voices have not been heard. The closure is also an eyesore, a blight on our beautiful village. It prevents neighbors from walking in an adjoining neighborhood, riding bicycles through the neighborhood without committing trespass, as the fence extends well past the intersection. I ask the Board of Trustees and Police Chief to reconsider this hasty action and reopen Somerset Avenue. Do the appropriate traffic and safety studies during the busy season, not in the dead of winter, and implement a far less excessive remedy without adding to our already horrendous traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toby.
Thank you.
Martin Denman.
Charlene, just out of curiosity, how many more speakers do we have?
We only have 3.
Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to give, I know we have some students from Southampton High School here who want to present to us. So, one on Zoom too. So each is about 3 minutes, so about 12, 15 minutes. If it's any more, we'll kind of put a stop and we'll let you guys come up. We want to make sure you guys can get home. Thanks for your patience, everybody.
Hi, Martin Denman. I live in Bishop's Pond, full-time resident. Thank you for having these public hearings. I just want to, I think what has needed to be said has already been said, so I just want to give you the benefit of my own personal experience. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, my wife and I were in the village, and we came home to Bishop's Pond towards the tail end of the rush hour, probably around 6 or 7 o'clock. And it literally took me 50 minutes to get from the intersection of Moses and Bishop's Lane to the intersection of McGee Street and Bishop's Lane. 50 minutes, which made the trip from Southampton Village to Bishop's Lane about an hour and 10 minutes. Now, if I had been trying to get to the hospital, or if I had to get home to an emergency at my home, it would have been a disaster. And I just wanted to communicate that to you because what's going on is untenable, and there has to be better solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
Amanda Holman.
Good evening. I'm Amanda Grove Holmain. The Somerset barrier is a disgrace. It is a slap on the face to all of us who live in the neighborhood. We pay taxes and we should all share the traffic burden. It's the most dramatic and drastic solution you could have picked. And it's a classic case of the tail wagging the dog. You erect the barricade first without considering us, and now you're trying to justify it. I understand we're waiting for a traffic study, but I can tell you right now, if the study says the barricade is helping anyone but the Somerset homeowners, no one will believe it. Traffic flow is worse than before. Bishop's Lane and the surrounding streets simply cannot handle the volume without Somerset. Not in the fall or the winter, let alone in the summer. God help us in the summer if you don't take that barricade down. We never knew the barricade was coming, but now we are forced to try and undo something that should never have been done in the first place. You've put us in the terrible position of playing defense. It's unconscionable. Barricades are a last resort. They're not suitable for a traffic artery in Southampton Village in 2023. We can't turn back the clock for some taxpayers and not for others. Moreover, the rationale for the barricade is faulty. The Somerset homeowners say they're concerned with safety, but speeding trucks aren't an issue in bumper-to-bumper traffic. No one is speeding between 4 and 7 p.m. Outside of those hours, stop signs, speed bumps, flashing speed limit signs, all effective methods to mitigate spending, according to multiple articles on traffic calming. Just Google it. Also, data shows that people speed more on straight roads than curves. And as a result, more accidents happen on straight roads, like Bishop's Lane, than they do on curves, like Somerset. People slow down generally when approaching curves. Plus, Bishop's Lane is narrower than Somerset, and Bishop's Court has that terrible hill 90-degree hairpin turn. The barricade is jeopardizing community safety as well. Recently, there was a fire on 39 and all traffic was diverted. We couldn't use Somerset
30
anymore.
seconds.
A major artery gone. Traffic on Bishop's Lane, Bishop's Court, North Captain's Neck, and McGee was literally at standstill for hours. People were getting out of their cars and trucks to stretch their legs. And with Somerset blocked, no emergency response vehicles could have gotten through. Accidents happen on 39. It is inevitable. This was a preview. Wake up. How much more evidence do you need? Remove the barricade permanently. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jack Zacharias. Oh, thank you.
Zacharias.
Good evening. Jack Zacharias, 160 Somerset Avenue. I beg to differ with my esteemed neighbor that speeding trucks do not represent an imminent threat on Somerset Avenue. This happened after the signage went up. Please take note. I'd like to address the correspondence to the board from the Homeowners Association of Bishop's Pond dated January 10th, which is a public document. Imagine a village trustee influences an outcome with a developer to open the Bishop's Pond closed-loop subdivision at High Pond Lane to Dodge Street. Imagine that. And create an east-west thoroughfare from Corrigan all the way to Tuckahoe Lane that funnels 1,000 vehicles per hour of all shapes and sizes around 90-degree turns at an average speed of 35 miles an hour. What would the Bishop's Pond safety profile look like then? Let's say they widen the streets to accommodate the volume. Could you even walk around those curves during rush hour without fearing for your safety? That's what happened to Broadlawns. We became the north-south thoroughfare to Hill Street without any redesign of our loop. It's documented, it's not subject to opinion or conjecture. These are cold, hard facts. And while we understand the opinion expressed about safety measures implemented to date, which have been expressed voluminously here this evening, the solutions proposed in the letter demonstrate a lack of information about the facts. Many of the incremental measures mentioned in that letter that they proposed have already been implemented by the village. The incidents and accidents continued unabated. Restoring Broadlawns to its original design has been the only effective safety measure to date. Lesser solutions have not worked and will not resolve the safety problem. We have a severe and urgent safety problem in our subdivision. And yes, I heard Eric very clearly. I think you have an issue on that curve as well. We have a severe issue there, and the community should join together in working with the police department and trustees as they work through the various scenarios for ameliorating the problems in the area. Criticizing fellow residents as being anything less than focused on a vehicular safety issue is really misguided.
30 seconds.
Thank you. And to say that there has been limited public comment is not correct. Eric, you pointed this out. There's been a ton of public comment on this, right? I'd propose that rather than resorting to criticisms, that we focus on solutioning, right? That prioritizes safety above all else. Safety solutions don't have to be uniform. Effective safety solutions can and should be designed and implemented with the unique characteristics of each street in mind. I look forward to a more constructive and positive public discourse that's respectful and assumes goodwill and sincere intent. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Sage, I'm sorry, is there someone on Zoom, Sage?
We have two.
What do you want to do, Jesse?
Let's pause those two speakers, if that's all right. Can you make that happen? I'd like to bring the, I see the high school students out here, and so I'd like to bring them up because I know they probably have some homework tonight. They probably want to get home, so if you'd like to come up, and thank you everyone for this quick pause here. They have a pitch they'd like to make to us tonight, and it's great to see you guys. So if anyone's interested in running for public office, now you have a little bit of taste of what it's like. So come on up, and we'd love to hear what you guys have to say.
We had sent you guys the presentation, but we also have handouts as well.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
By the way, there already is a resolution on the agenda approving this, so you don't have to sell too hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Haircut. Jesse.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is Natasha Jeffries, and with me is Tanya Ciancio. We are the class advisors for Southampton High School of the class of 2023. We do have our building principal, Dr. Brian Zahn, with us today. And so we're going to turn it over to a few of the officers of the class of 2023.
Hi, I'm Brandon Perez. I'm an officer at Southampton High School. We're all here to represent our class. And one of the things that we're very looking forward to this year, called the Southampton High School Senior Sunset Dinner of 2023. And starting off, as all you can see, why are we here? The senior class of 2023 is hoping to move on from the dark and boring coronavirus period to a more memorable era through unique events that reflect our community in a fun way. What better way to do that than bring everyone together to the part of Southampton that everyone loves the most, the beach.
So us seniors have a tradition for a senior sunrise and a senior sunset, and we figured that in order to get more participation from our senior class, because unfortunately it's sort of the same crew that comes to the events, especially when it comes to things outside of school time, just like senior sunset. So we figured having a sort of dinner would almost make it easier for everyone to be involved with the senior sunset, which I think would be a nice closing. So we would have it, obviously, hopefully, at Cooper's, and it would be kind of like a fun bring your own chair type thing. We were hoping to get the East End Clam yes, to cater for us, and they would provide for a bonfire and some torches, just some fun lights, some fun setups. And yeah, we just wanted to have a fun little senior dinner to kind of celebrate our last year together.
Hi, I'm Molly Radice. I'm also an officer at Southampton High School. So we want to go to Cooper's. It's such a huge part of our community, and we would like to hold this from 6 to 9 p.m. as we know the beach closes at 5 to the public at that time, because the date that we would like to do is June 13th. So we know that it does say 15th, but we have realized that there's a conflict with our school schedule. So the 13th would like to be our next option. And just again to reiterate that we would like the 6 to 9 p.m. time slot, keeping in mind that the beach does close at 5 and that we wouldn't be in anybody's way.
Thank you.
Just closing, so what we need from you and why we're here, we would need permits. I bet the official stuff is already getting through, but just to reiterate, we need permits and we need Cooper's bathroom access because a lot of kids are going to need that, especially over there. And just closing again, we want to make this year as memorable as possible. This is going to be probably the first time it's ever been done here in Southampton, and we thought might as well, like I said, if we're coming out of the coronavirus period, we might as well make it unique, might as well make it stand out. And we hope to not only create an incredible experience for our class, but also set an example for years to come. And we are ready to collaborate closely with whomever is needed and get this in the works as soon as possible. Thank you. And right there, you can see a little picture of our president, of our principal there.
Yeah.
You guys want to see that?
What's on the menu?
On the menu, East
Yeah.
End Clam Bakes.
Okay, very good.
Little burgers, barbecue, little thing there. So, looking forward to it.
We're okay. That's
All of you invited, of course. All of you. All of you. Just bring your own beach chair.
Might make sense to bring the Somerset and the Bishop's people to this clam bake, get them together, figure out a traffic problem. We can't get it done by then, but that might be a serious idea. But anyway, thank you. Any board members have any comments?
No, I think it's great. I think it's, especially since I feel like you guys lost out on so much during high school, not being able to do so many things because of the virus. So I think this is a great coming out, so.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and appreciate your patience this evening.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
Thank you so much always for the support of our students at Southampton High School. We are so appreciative of that. You've always supported us and our kids who work so hard. So it was great that they could come here tonight and see government in action as well. So thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the continued support.
All right.
Thank you.
Dr. Zahn, thank you so much. Best principal at Southampton High School. And, nice to see you guys. And please send our regards to the rest of the senior class. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Sage, thank you for the patience there. We can have these two new Zoom speakers. Okay, you can state your name and address for the record. And you've got about 3 minutes if you can hear us. Merrill, I see you there.
My name is Merrill Lieberman. I am a full-time year-round homeowner and voter in the village, residing at 1501 Devon Court in Bishop's Pond. We are a development of 79 homes off of McGee Street between Somerset and Moses. The recent closure of Somerset of only 35 homes to all through traffic, including foot and pedestrian traffic, has a serious negative impact on our community and the surrounding neighborhoods of feeder streets to Hill Street. It has resulted in choking Bishop's Lane during peak hours, cutting off our only other access to Hill Street, landlocking us with the other recent closure of Roscoe in the Fields, creating an eyesore with 50 feet of ugly metal barriers, limiting access of emergency vehicles and other first responders, and prohibiting our free access to walk and ride on public roads. This closure was neither well thought out nor the result of open community debate. Both the result and the process by which it was arrived at are seriously flawed. The action is arbitrary, capricious, discriminatory, and exceeds this board's power and authority. By privatizing a public road without due process, this board has created a dangerous precedent for others in the village wishing to privatize their public road by claiming concerns over vehicular accidents, curvy streets, or traffic, all of which we all endure in our growing community. If the stated problem on Somerset is speeding, it is easily solved by adding speed bumps, additional stop signs, lowering the speed limit, police enforcement, and other common sense methods of deterrence. If the problem is the burden of the trade parade traffic, it is easily solved with prohibiting commercial traffic altogether or limiting it to non-peak hours. We should all bear the burden of village traffic equally. If the problem is that the Somerset residents now desire a private enclave that they were promised 50 years ago, that ship has sailed, along with our tax dollars and the potato fields.
30 seconds.
I assume with this privatization, the village will no longer be responsible for repair and maintenance of that road. I propose that the board establish an ad hoc committee comprised of representatives of all affected neighborhoods and the chiefs of police and fire. Let's see if as a community we can work together in a positive and inclusive fashion for the benefit of the many, not the few. Thank you.
Thank you, Meryl.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sage.
Oh, yeah, I did too.
Okay. Camera. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lou Leone from 134 Somerset. And I just, having heard all of this, I just wanted to comment that we do need to continue to keep Somerset Pleasant closed as a safety measure. And I urge the trustees to implement additional measures to keep the traffic on 39 and Hill Street and address this knockoff traffic issues that are impacting these surrounding streets. We're good neighbors. We really want a solution that works for everyone. We're not trying to push our problem to someone else. But that being said, I would like to reiterate that the Somerset Pleasant issue is unique from other residential issues. And if you live there, you really felt the danger. Like you really saw, I live right in front of the curves, you really see these cars coming around at all times of the day and at night, and they're just not able to handle the double turns that come up. And so you really had the feeling that something terrible was gonna happen. And unless you live on that street, you wouldn't really realize that. But this is not a quality of life issue. It's first and foremost a real safety concern. So it really wasn't designed for high volumes that we're seeing. And that being said, and Spiro said most of what we wanted to basically talk about, including what we presented on previous meetings, we do want to obviously solve this for everyone. And that's why I know one of the folks who spoke from, I think it was Bishop's Lane, had talked about, really the solution is keeping this traffic on 39 and Hill Street and maybe directing traffic to right turns or on certain streets or not. But really, the public and private leaders in fulfillment of your fiduciary duty really has to address the issues on a time-sensitive priority. And I do fear that opening the street again will result in some kind of serious injury or fatality. So we do want to hopefully keep that closed, but address everyone else's concern as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment this evening? If so, you can raise your hand on Zoom or you can come forward to the podium. There's one more. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, everybody. We'll just have our next speaker momentarily.
Hi, can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yes.
Yes, hi, my name is Gary Andrews, and I've owned a home on North Captain's Neck Lane for 35 years. And as far as I can remember, Bishop's Lane has always been closed to truck traffic. And I think that enforcement of that would go a long way to reducing the traffic level on Bishop's Lane. So I just wanted to make that point, which has not yet been made this evening. And there also is a sign on the corner of Bishop's Lane and Hill Street that prohibits trucks. So once again, I think if we can enforce that, that would go a long way to helping alleviate the traffic situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sage, is there anyone else? No. Okay, I'll make one last call. If anyone would like to come forward, please raise your hand. If not, I just wanted to give the board and anyone on the board an opportunity, if they would like. They're not obligated to respond to any of the comments. Is there anyone who would like to?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make some comments, not particularly, although I appreciate all the comments that were made this evening. My comments regard an issue of perhaps even greater importance to this village, which is the hiring of our new police chief. In a December meeting, this board voted 4-1 to select Anthony Carter as this village's new police chief. Mayor Warren was the lone dissenting vote. During the board's discussion of Mr. Carter's employment, Mayor Warren offered no reasons for his dissent. And ironically, Mayor Warren was the one who brought Deputy Commissioner Carter's resume to our attention as a strong candidate for the position. There was no qualification Mr. Carter lacked, no incident in his exemplary record that was a concern. The mayor offered that Mr. Carter might not finish in the top 3 of the required civil service exam. And while this is a valid point, it is important to note that any candidate the village would seek to hire, with the exception who's already been a chief in New York State, but not New York City, would also have to pass the civil service test. Since the board's decision to select Mr. Carter, Mayor Warren has made several statements regarding Mr. Carter's hiring, which must be not only rebutted, but rebuked, because they are false. In his remarks at Captain Hertau's and Mr. Carter's induction ceremony, Mayor Warren suggested that he wished the police search committee, which was chaired by Trustee Brown, and on which I also served, had done a more thorough job or interviewed more candidates, and that he knew of several, quote, superstar, end quote, candidates he wished we had considered. I don't know who the superstars the mayor has in mind, but whoever they are, they did not apply for the job. The fact is, we reviewed every application that met the standards for the position. This included some of the top police professionals in the country, men and women who truly are superstars in policing. We interviewed for hours more than a dozen of the best of these applicants. We were assisted by a professional recruiter. After we further narrowed the field down, we did deep background checks on the candidate finalists. I have nothing but praise for the way Trustee Brown conducted the search committee and the work that was done by my fellow members, Ed Moneypenny and Father Mike Vetrano. That committee could not have done a more exhaustive, fair, and objective search. The mayor also stated that he wished the search committee had considered Southampton Village Police Detective Sergeant Lamison for the position. The fact is, and Mayor Warren was well aware of this, that the position required all applicants to hold at least the rank of lieutenant, with preference for captain and above. Mr. Lamison is a fine officer and has served the village with distinction, but since his rank is below lieutenant, the committee could not consider his application or anyone else below the rank of lieutenant. Further, the mayor expressed throughout the hiring process that he would not entertain any candidate from within the department because he wanted to hire a change agent that would enact the recommendations of the Hartnett report. So his comments that Detective Sergeant Lamison should have been considered or that local police experience should have been a requirement are at best disingenuous. In last Sunday's New York Post, there's an article with a headline that attributes to Mayor Warren the statement, "New Hampton's police chief Anthony Carter didn't deserve the job." The article contains additional information, which the Post states was provided by Mayor Warren regarding Mr. Carter's compensation and benefits, calling the package, quote, fat. The fact is, Mr. Carter's compensation is on par with the other police chiefs in Suffolk County. Mr. Carter's benefits, vacation time, uniform allowance, etc., are in line with the senior police officers he will be supervising. Mr. Carter's total compensation package is $140,000 less than his predecessor, Chief Cummings, and he has agreed to work considerably more days to enable him to provide the highest level of services to the residents of our village. We would be very lucky to have a man of his caliber in our employ, and the support for him expressed by Captain Hertown and the men and women of our department at what should have been a joyous occasion for Deputy Commissioner Carter and his family is much appreciated. I want to take this opportunity to apologize to Mr. Carter for having had the excitement of your hiring to lead the police department of our village tarnished by the mayor's actions. I wouldn't be surprised if you decided to say, "Shove it, I don't need this BS." But I sincerely hope you won't. Instead, I hope these events will stiffen your resolve to study hard, finish in the top 3 of the test, and show our mayor how wrong he is. I hope the mayor will make every effort to amend his behavior and attempt to rebuild the loss of trust his actions have caused in order that this board continue to work together on the important issues facing the village in the months ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Stevenson. I just, I did call on you. I would just like to keep this meeting on track here. And in the future, if anyone would like to put anything on the agenda, just please, add it in advance. And obviously, our elected officials are entitled to their opinion. I appreciate your comments tonight, and we can certainly have some more discussion. I will say, however, that when we conducted our survey with our comprehensive master plan, traffic was the #1 issue, and there's a lot of people here tonight that want to talk about traffic. And I would just refer anyone to comments that I wrote in my column in the Southampton Press. I think those were spot on and unimpeachable, and I'll stick to that writing that I did. And I think that's the best area to go. I don't want to go off track here. So I would just like to turn this over to any other board members who might have any comments related to Somerset and Bishops and how we can improve the quality of life for our residents.
No, I have a comment, and I'd like to piggyback off of
Trustee Resta,
I'm
I
sorry,
would appreciate.
Mr. Mayor, I'm also part of the public, and I am making a public comment.
Just, if you will,
I would, excuse
Trustee
me.
Resta, the mayor does preside over the meeting, and
This is
you do
public
have
comment?
no. This is coming for the public.
I'm
you
part
have
of the public here, and I'd like to, we have
on
our
Trustee
labor
Resta,
attorney
please.
here.
On
and I would
page
like-
5, you have comments from board members, and
I'm
you'll
not
have
waiting
every
to the
opportunity.
end. I want to address this.
I would
Okay?
res-
And I would like
Trustee
to.
Resta.
Why do you
Vince
want her to
Toomey is
speak? What
here.
is she going to say that you're afraid of, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor?
Thank you. Mr. Toomey, I would like you to comment on Trustee Stevenson's remarks as far as factuality and also the work that was done by the search committee and the sequence, if you can, and exactly what was done and that led to our choice of Anthony Carter.
Ms. Toomey, unfortunately, I'm not going to be calling on you right now. You're welcome to stay. But as you know, 4-400, the mayor does preside over the meeting, and the mayor does get to determine the order of speaking. And so we're going to stick to our regular scheduled meeting tonight. As I've said to the board, if anyone would like to put anything on the agenda, they have every opportunity to do so. I really would like to stick to this discussion regarding traffic. I'd like to get to our 3 public hearings.
Mr. Preston, can the
and then-
trustees, by vote, allow a speaker to speak?
There's a walk-on to amend the order of the meeting, and there's a vote on it, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I make the motion to amend the order of the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Toomey? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. Good evening. I listened to the comments from Trustee Stevenson. They are all, in my view, very accurate. I was requested by the village to serve as special counsel to the search committee. My firm did that on a pro bono basis because of the importance of this position to the village. It should go without saying that there's probably nothing more important in government than public safety, and nothing more important than selecting an appropriate police chief. This committee, which was made up of 2 trustees and very distinguished members of the community, invested an extraordinary amount of time and attention to find a quality candidate for the position. There was one other member of the committee who stepped aside because he indicated he had other commitments. That's certainly understandable, but the remaining members of the committee worked tirelessly to ensure that this process was one that was transparent, that there was integrity in the process, that there would be openness to diversity that hadn't existed in the past. It was really an extraordinary mission by this group of people, and any kind of criticism of the job they did is really misplaced. I was at the meeting on December 12th, and the mayor did make some comments about some disappointment in the committee. He seemed to indicate that part of that disappointment was that there were other candidates that were not screened by the committee. Some of the problems in the process, to the extent there were problems at all, were born of the fact that this all occurred, or largely occurred, during the pandemic. There were civil service complications because of that. But the process was one that was open to candidates. It was widely advertised. It was advertised to law enforcement groups made up of minority members. It was publicized locally. We received responses from really the very, very top people in the world in policing, frankly. If we look at New York City as the greatest city in the world and NYPD as the greatest police department in the world, we had candidates willing to come from New York City and serve this village. And frankly, I'm concerned that that level of interest that was demonstrated by people of that caliber, that might not exist in the future with what's happened here. There was a great deal, in my view, and I feel terribly saying this, of disrespect toward Commissioner Carter and his family at that meeting. I'm not sure why that would have happened. This is someone who has been a star everywhere he's worked. He's someone that the village would be very blessed to have in their employ. He's also someone that when I was entrusted with the negotiation of his collective bargaining agreement, said something to me that I had never heard in negotiations before. And I've been negotiating labor contracts for almost 4 decades now. He said to me at the beginning, it's not about the money. And we all know usually when someone says that, it might be about the money. Not this guy. He said, I want to work here. He said, I realized what happened with the last contract, that it became something that was controversial. I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to be the subject of controversy. I want a fair package. I realize it will be far less than what the last chief got. It may even be less than what some of his fellow chiefs in the East End of Long Island are receiving. But he was willing to take that. And the numbers recited by Trustee Stevenson are quite understated. The village administrator did an analysis of the Cummings contract versus the Carter contract, and it is a bare minimum of $140,000 less than the last contract. And when we count the post-retirement benefits, which was so controversial in the case of the last chief, literally almost $1 million, the post-retirement liability for Chief Carter would be nearly zero. So that's essentially taking $1 million that would have been off the books. So the process was thorough. Some of the comments about Detective Sergeant Lamison, who I agree is one of the finest officers to ever serve this department, but the trustees established a criteria, and the mayor was at the forefront of that. And I very much supported this. The mayor said he wanted change within the department. He wanted someone from outside of the department, maybe someone from outside of the area to serve. And Herman, despite his impressive credentials, simply wasn't a lieutenant, let alone a captain or a chief, which was the preferred criteria for it. So he was never a candidate at all. And to suggest that the process lacked in some way because Herman didn't have an opportunity really is a false assertion. So I think the process was a very strong one. I think it led to the selection of one of the best police candidates I've ever seen. I've headed up search committees for other communities for the position of police chief, including the Southampton Town Police Department on 2 occasions. It's rare to find someone of this caliber, let alone someone that's willing to come here and work for really what's less than the going rate. He, in fact, volunteered while every other police chief on the East End works approximately 240 days per year. He's going to work 260 days per year. The reason he's going to do that, he cares about the community. He wants to come here, be a member of this community. He realizes, as is the vision of the mayor and the trustees, that some change is needed. He is an agent of change, but he's someone that can do so in a proper, business-like manner that won't disrupt public safety in the village. So my thoughts are that everything that Trustee Stevenson indicated are entirely true. Frankly, some of the comments made in the Post and in the Southampton Press op-ed piece by the mayor are not supportable, especially when it comes to the financial aspects of this. This village, under the leadership of this board, has learned an awful lot about police chief contracts. Every single item identified by the village's distinguished finance committee that was wrong with the Cummings contract was corrected in this one. The amount of leave time is drastically reduced. The amount of money is drastically reduced. Every single item that was problematic in a contract that was poorly negotiated by some of your predecessors many, many years ago do not exist here. It's a model police contract. The only one that was similar to it was that negotiated by the town of Southampton with the late Chief Skrzynecki. It's based upon that model. It will provide extraordinary savings to the village, which you can redeploy. $140,000 savings is approximately 2 new police officers. So you'll be able to enhance public safety by the savings generated by this very fair and reasonable contract negotiated by the village with Deputy Commissioner Carter. I'm happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Vince.
Oh, I'd just like to thank you very much, Vince, for making it very clear of exactly how the process worked and, again, what the contract entails, because there has been some false information that has been shared, and it's not right for the public to not have the straight story. So I really appreciate you for clearing that up. And I certainly would like to call on Anthony Carter if he would like to make any comments himself.
Sure. Thank you,
Excuse me, just before that, excuse me, Mr. Carter.
Sorry, Trustee Brown.
No problem. Excuse me, Counsel, would you just make it clear again to everyone that the civil service requirements for an exam is not dictated by Southampton Village?
That's correct, Trustee. I didn't think the audience had a lot of patience for a lecture on the civil service law, as interesting as I find that topic, but you are quite right on that. Unfortunately, the civil service laws in New York State were done a long time ago. They were actually done under Roosevelt and not Franklin. Teddy Roosevelt wrote most of our civil service laws. They are antiquated. The process is such where it's frustrating to all of us, but the reality is we don't make the rules. The trustees don't make the rules. You set out to find the very best candidate that you can, but the reality is at the end of the day, those candidates will have to take the civil service examination. They'll have to be reachable, meaning in the top 3 candidates for that position, and then you'll get to make a final appointment of those individuals. The same is true, by the way, there were comments regarding the disqualification, I believe, of Detective Sergeant Lamison. That's not a decision that was made by the mayor and trustees. That's a decision that was made by the county of Suffolk based upon their criteria. We don't have to agree with that. I disagree with the criteria that they established, but that's up to the county. That's not a local determination.
Thank you.
Trustee.
Thank you, Vince.
Are there any other comments from the board?
Deputy Commissioner Carter, would you like to say a few words? Thank you.
Andrew, is this, I mean, ultimately, we have an agenda that's set forth, and
Yeah.
I would just say that I don't particularly like the way the meeting is being conducted. We've strived to have a level of transparency here, and from the moment I was elected, we said that we would stick to the agenda, but unfortunately, obviously, the trustees here can through resolution, dictate this process.
I would encourage the board to stick to the agenda, and if there are other add-ons, to entertain them at the end, but it's the board's prerogative.
Mr. Carter?
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees, first and foremost, I want to thank all of you for inviting me here tonight to speak. It is truly, and I've said this before, an honor to be chosen as the next chief of police for the Southampton Village Police Department. Coming 30 years hard, I gotta pivot a little bit here and see everybody here. After 29 years in the New York City Police Department, serving in all different capacities, I've always been told that the NYPD is the New York Yankees of policing. Then I came out and I became the Deputy Police Commissioner in Suffolk County, and I was told that the Suffolk County Police Department is the New York Yankees of Long Island policing. And after serving with these men and women for 1 year, I have to agree with that statement. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to visit police headquarters in Southampton Village. I got to meet some of the men, some of the women that are out there doing the work. I got to meet some of our civilian dispatchers that are taking these 911 calls in and dispatching it to our police officers. I rode around for a few hours. Yeah, I did. I went over to Somerset. I went over to some of these areas that are challenging and got a good first-hand eye on it. And what I've seen, since August, I've been walking around Southampton Village, looking at everything that I could possibly see as to how we can make things better out here. But what I want to say is this is an incredible, incredible police department. And I'm going to say, just after 1 day with them, this is the Yankees of the Hamptons as far as police departments go. So I really want to commend you guys and girls for the work that you do. And I appreciate you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to support you to make sure that you have the resources you need, the equipment you need, the tools that you need, and the training that you need to do the job to serve these people that deserve to be served the way that they should be. Traffic issues. I hear you loud and clear with the traffic. I've been fortunate enough to sit in it to get a first-hand experience of what the traffic looks like. I got a good taste of it in the summer. I'm getting a taste of it in the off-season. And I understand. Everybody that was speaking, whether it was on Zoom, whether it was here in person, this meeting and many other meetings that I've watched, I understand it. I did plenty of time in the New York City Police Department in the Transportation Bureau, and we did everything from counterflow measures to mitigate traffic to working and closing down streets for presidential visits. I have experience. The board has been working diligently. The mayor has been working diligently to try and find solutions. I'm hoping to be able to contribute to these conversations and work towards mitigating some of these solutions because they are significant. And it's going to be one of my top priorities when I get in here. So, to all my men and women, to everybody, thank you. Thank you for what you do each and every day. And that's what I have for now. Thank you all.
Thank you, Anthony.
Are there any additional comments from the board?
I
Okay.
think that speaks loudly.
Would any board members now like to comment on solutions for this traffic issue?
Yes, I would, thank you. I think it'd be quite to the benefit and fair to all communities that we explore the options of the speed bumps, monitoring the speed as well with cameras, and making sure that in suggestion with our chief, where there should be stop signs or where we're going to have not having right or left-hand turns, to pull that together and try that as an option so that the impact is fair to all communities. I believe that when people are not doing the correct thing and they receive the tickets, they will be reminded of coming into line with things. I think it's something that needs to be explored, and I thank you.
Any other comments on traffic and whether or not
No, we-
this board would like to keep the situation as is, or if you'd like to make any changes?
Not right at this time. Everything has been taken into consideration. As many of you have been coming to these meetings since the summertime, we take all comments into consideration. We are also working with the traffic study, and we're going to bring, I guess we'll bring them to, with the next conversation with them, and bring all these things and everybody's comment to them as well, so we could see what's going to work or what we're going to try. There might be some more testing and trying, but we are working on it.
Okay. All right, so just to confirm, no additional comments from the board on any of these issues that were brought up today?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, I think there may be another opportunity to give my full opinion, but I would go on record as saying that while I appreciate the safety concerns of the residents of Somerset, I have to agree that the closure of the road is a misstep. I believe that the alternatives to make the areas safer that were mentioned this evening, such as speed bumps, additional signage, cameras, would be effective. If a bank in the neighborhood is being robbed, the solution is not to close the bank, it's to get more guards, and it's to get cameras, and it's to enforce the laws so the bank's not robbed. We haven't enforced the laws. If people are speeding, they should be arrested. If people are breaking the law and going through stop signs, they should be arrested, and I trust that our police department will enforce the laws. But this is a village of a community, and to force the other streets to bear the additional traffic because the Somerset Avenue is closed it's not right. We all should share in the trouble together, and that's my opinion. The traffic is terrible. I get it. Big solutions are needed. You look in New York City where sometime in the morning they make 495 going in lanes one way and coming out in the afternoon. Obviously that would be a town solution, but we got to make 39. We got to make the county road highway better. We're not going to fix Hill Street, but to enable one neighborhood to have no problem while everybody else gets double the problem, it's just, to me, not fair. So I'll go on record stating that tonight.
And Trustee Manger and Trustee, is that something that you agree with, or do you not agree with that?
I'd like to, again, hear from the folks that are professionals with the traffic study first before making a, determination.
Okay.
What if you remove the barricade and then all of things are open to everyone and you can evaluate, brainstorm, having it there is saying, we're not really listening, this temporary isn't really temporary, so.
We'd have to, all right, well,
You can't
we're,
shut out from.
all right, we'll keep on moving. What I'd like to do, obviously, everyone can see where the votes are here, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to work very closely with everybody here to do everything we can to find a solution, and we'd like to do it as quickly as possible. And that's all I can do. I'm going to keep my head down and do my job and focus on the issues that matter to the residents. So I'm going to keep on moving along this meeting. Tonight, we do have two additional board presentations. The third one, the Arts and Culture District, we had a great press sessions today with the Southampton Press, so We're going to move the Arts and Culture District, which is something that we're excited to implement here to our work session. And then the second board presentation was simply an announcement of some of the village grants that we've received. And I just wanted to provide a quick update to the village residents. We received over $12 million of grant money for the village of Southampton, something I've worked very hard on. We received a $5 million federal grant. We received a several grants totaling $6.1 million from the Town Water Quality Fund. And I'll talk more about that later tonight. And then also we received a $500,000 grant for the History Museum. So we'll keep on moving to our public hearings. The first public hearing tonight is the public hearing for the local law 1-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 116-zoning. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so Andrew, would you mind introducing this law?
Of course, Mayor. This is an amendment which creates a new section 40.1 in Chapter 116, which is the zoning section of Village Code. And essentially what this is doing is creating a mechanism where village land use boards' fees are billed back to applicants seeking relief before those boards. The mechanism by which this is done is obviously spelled out in more detail in the law, but it requires posting a deposit with the village administrator and those boards to tally expenses and fees, and imposes an obligation on the village administrator to reduce the balance accordingly and rebill as necessary.
So, yeah, actually, he's up for the next
that's
item,
public hearing number 2.
stage, but thank you very much. So just for the public's edification, the village has found, and because I signed the vouchers, that we pay a considerable amount of money, thousands of dollars on some applications to, for example, Nelson Pope and Voorhees, one of the consultants that aids the village in applications. Every planning board application actually is submitted to NPV for review. That adds up very quickly, especially if it's a complex application. So instead of the taxpayers of the village taking on that burden, this is transferring that to the applicant. If the applicant comes in with a very complex wetlands application that requires, again, some analysis by an outside consultant, I believe that should be the responsibility of the applicant who's going to benefit from whatever permission they're getting for their property. It should not be borne by all the taxpayers of this village. And as I said, I signed the vouchers, and I noticed it's thousands upon thousands of dollars, and this has to really be paid for by those that are coming in with these applications. And so that is what this law is doing, is it's just shifting the burden to those that were the applicants as opposed to the village taxpayers.
Are there any comments from the board on this?
No, I agree with this. I don't see why this has to be a burden on the taxpayers when it's for specific applicants for specific things that they want to do for their own personal property. So I think it's a good way of moving forward, passing on the fees back to the applicant, which is basically what it is that we've been paying. I believe this is the way it used to be done, wasn't it?
No, actually, it wasn't. The only thing that the village has now is to be able to charge a wetlands application before the Zoning Board of Appeals. But, for example, every application that goes to the planning board is actually sent to Nelson Pope and Voorhees. I had Julie in our accounting office review that, and the average cost to the village for a planning board application is $1,000. So now this is going to say that there has to be a $1,000 deposit made by the applicant when they come in with a planning board request application, so that then we can take that into the village coffers, and then if there is an additional fee, we will mark that up. If it's actually less than $1,000, we will refund them the difference. But again, the average cost of a planning board application right now is $1,000, and so that's what this is requesting, is a $1,000 deposit.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? The only thing I will add is I think that this is a good first step. I think there are some things that still need to be amended. For example, I think it's a good concept to charge back some of these fees, whether it be attorneys or planners or zoning specialists, back to the applicant. However, if there is applicants coming in for small amounts, everyday people, they're probably not going to like to get a bill, and it's also going to create a large administrative expense in potentially even needing to hire more people. So, Andrew, I'm curious, have you seen anything like this in your in other villages you work with, and what are your thoughts on how this might work?
I have seen these laws before. I think this village has a practice of trying something, seeing if it works, and continuously evaluating. I've encountered villages that have adopted similar laws, stuck by them, adopted similar laws, and not. It does create an administrative burden. It creates additional accounting obligations, but it also creates additional revenue, and it will be the purview of this board to decide whether this is a good idea or not.
I will just add, Mayor, that other communities out here on the East End actually have as high as a charge of $5,000 as a deposit, and we went with a very low deposit, again, based on the analysis that Julie did, that was, again, the average price that a planning board application has. I would add that, usually on some properties in the village, minor work that they may do does not request or does not require that they go to the planning board. But the planning board is usually, when it is a site plan approval, it's usually a more involved application. Even somebody getting a tennis court is reviewed by Nelson, Pope, and Voorhees. But again, I would think that if someone in the village is putting in a tennis court, they can put down a $1,000 deposit, for that application to go through.
Totally understand. Again, I just would like for this board to consider possibly making an amendment so that some of the smaller applicants, the everyday people of this village, don't get hit with additional fees. So, for example, if we have an accountant on our payroll, tallying up, quarter-hour fees that an attorney might occur on an ARB or planning board or ZBA, for example, a friend of ours came and needed a variance for a pool, and I would hate to see her, for example, get hit with an additional bill with all the ongoing costs here. So I would just like this board just to consider maybe putting a threshold here for the size of the application, just so that the smaller applicants, the everyday people, don't have to incur some of these fees, and it also might eliminate some of the additional administrative work. But I do think this is a great concept. I just think that it might require just a little bit of a change. But again, those are just the points that I wanted to point out for consideration of this board, and I'm hopeful that maybe we can work on that. Does that sound does that sound reasonable as far as trying to reduce some of the administrative costs?
Well, I mean, it's something that the board can do if it wants to set a lower threshold for anticipated costs of a project, I suppose.
Do you really think an engineering fee is going to stop somebody that could afford to put a tennis court in? Do you think that is going to stop them from, or be harmful, or not being, if you could afford to, if you have the property and you could put a tennis court in, I don't think they'd have a problem paying for an engineering fee.
I see some of the small business owners, coming in from time to time for, certificates of appropriateness and things like that.
Does that involve
it would involve the ARB.
This is there's no fee on the ARB, Jesse. The $1,000 fee, if you read the legislation, is only applicable to the zoning board and the planning board. We actually specifically said that there should be no fee on the ARB, because many times the applications for a sign or something just go through and do not have to be reviewed by a third-party outside consultant to the village.
And then you also have the site plan review, where you've got restaurants and businesses who have to go through that site plan review, and I don't want to penalize those businesses. I'm just putting some thoughts on the table, asking for a small amendment here, so that the businesses and smaller applications might not have to incur this cost. But I'm happy to just move on here.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, are there any other comments from the public? Okay, so I'll make a motion to close this public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to open the next public hearing, Local Law 2-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 65, Historic Landmark and Preservation. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So we've got Jeff Broadley, who's the chairman of our Architecture Review Board, or former chair, now Mark McIntyre is our chair. And what this is that this was a request from the ARB regarding flag lots and historical properties. So I'll quickly turn this over to Jeff, and he can explain what this is, and then we can quickly get comments and close.
Okay, great. Can you folks hear me and see me?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. As I mentioned before, there's a, let's call it an absurdity in the code as it's currently written that gives more protection to non-historic properties that might be located on a flag lot than historic properties located on the same lot. I submitted to each of you folks this evening, and to be a matter of record, what I call a case study. If you've all had a chance to read it, I won't go into it in detail, but just I'll summarize elements of it. The Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation is charged with, among other things, protection enhancement, perpetuation of landmarks, historic districts, and to protect and enhance those landmarks and historic districts to ensure harmonious and orderly and efficient, yet at the same time ensure harmonious and orderly development and growth, and all in doing by way of fostering civic pride and protect and enhance the village's attractiveness. Our primary duty on the ARB for common use is the approval and disapproval of applications of appropriateness when it comes to Chapter 65, the Historic District. It goes on to say in 65-4 that no alterations, exterior alterations, restorations, construction, demolition, and so on can take place without said certificate of appropriateness. The board is then further charged, and it's codified, what the criteria for certificate of appropriateness should include in our consideration, which includes features or properties that make a significant contribution to the character and of the landmark or historic district, that any alteration of existing features shall be compatible, no new construction shall be equally compatible. But the irony is that at that very same section that holds us to using our judgment as to compatibility and protecting those historic properties says, but it doesn't apply to that which is not visible from a public street, right-of-way, or park unless they are open to the public. And so, I don't know about you, but I find that language, and it's become problematic, is in direct opposition to the intent, the role, and the responsibility of the board. So a case study, and I was prepared to put together slides and so on, but the simple matter is there was a application that came before us that was recently decided upon, and this involved property at 376 First Neck Lane. It was a request to demolish an historic structure, a structure that was built in 1885, designed by the prominent architectural firm of McKim, Mead, and White, which I'm sure many of you are familiar. And per our village historical consultant, it checked off 4 of the 5 boxes for landmarking. And it doesn't have to meet all 5 to be considered a landmark. And those boxes included, it had, this particular structure has special character, or historic aesthetic interest of value. It was identified with historic personages to embody distinguishing characteristics of architectural style, and quite clearly the work of the designer whose work has significantly influenced an age. And the village historical consultant, Sally Spanberg, in her recommendations, said that restore, repair, renovate, rehabilitate, period. The preservation of the carriage house is critical in maintaining the integrity of the 1885 site and accurately narrating its history. The board agreed with that conclusion, however, and said so much in our written decision. However, the sentence then went on to say, but because it was not visible from a public street, right of way, or park open to the public, that they, meaning the board, lacked the jurisdiction necessary to make a determination on a certificate of appropriateness for demolition. The net outcome of that is the following day, or you could probably look in the trades, that historic structure and property, which was deemed worthy of preservation, is now on the market for sale with an open demolition approval. So the conclusion from my standpoint is that another historic structure is lost, but in this case, not because of applied judgment. You know, there are cases that come before the ARB that have properties that may have some historic value, and depending on the structure, the condition, we may permit a demolition. It's not a hard and fast rule, but at least we are charged with using our judgment. That's why you appoint us. But in this case, we simply, by dint of the code, were not provided, and therefore the village was not provided the application of that judgment. So our recommendation is very simple, and the change in the language is very simple. And Alice Cooley, our attorney, has drafted a revision in the code, and Andrew has reviewed it as well. And it's very simple, just striking those words, excluding from our purview that which is not visible from the street. And I've attached to this document in your package the various related articles. So I would ask the trustees to accept the language that has been submitted for the edit of that code, section 65-4 and 5. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you do have them.
Thank you, Jeff. I think that was very clear and thorough, and wanted to thank you for your assistance in introducing this tonight. So I don't see any comments from the public. I don't know if there's anything else said on the board, so we'll thank you very much, and I'll make a motion to close public hearing for local law 2-2023. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and as always, thanks for listening to this session. You folks do a lot, and thanks from us and me as well.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Okay. Is there all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, excellent. I'll make a motion to open a public hearing for local law 3-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 108, vacant storefronts. This is just a continuation from our last meeting. I know at the request of Trustee Manger and Trustee Aresta, they wanted to consolidate chapters and put some more teeth into this. So I need to make a motion to open, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor. Okay, so I'll keep those in the record. So I'll turn this over to comments from board members, and then after that, I know Tony's probably here. So any comments from the board?
No, actually, maybe our
Okay.
attorney could just explain what this is doing now.
Sure. At the last board meeting, there was contemplated a new Chapter 108, which established a vacant property registration. This, and extensive discussion was had on that. This is substantially the same law incorporated into the existing Chapter 108, which is the vacant storefront section of law. And again, not to rehash at length, but this creates the requirement for vacant properties that are not seasonally vacant to register with the building department with contact information for owner and periodically re-register. There is not to be clear, there's not a penalty here for vacancy. There is, but it does prescribe penalties for failing to register as vacant properties.
Thank you very much.
And this is only applicable, is that correct, on Main Street and Job's Lane?
I'm sorry, yes, that's limited to those two streets.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments from the public? Tony and Warren, feel free to come on down. No relation. No, that you're about to find out.
Thank you. So, just to make it clear, you just cleared this up completely. This is for non-seasonal. This is for places like, well, I hate to use Futterman's space, but that's on Hill Street. So you're saying it's non-seasonal. So for Job's Lane, the places that close for Labor Day to Memorial Day don't have to register.
That's correct, because they're not vacant.
Well, they are if the tenant left on Labor Day, and we're looking for new spaces for people to come in, new tenants for people to come in by Memorial Day, we don't have to register. Property owners will not have to register.
Andrew, I think you have to.
I don't think so.
May
Yeah,
I?
please.
Section 108-5 specifies that seasonal businesses are exempt from the vacant property registration requirement of Section 4. Section 4, in turn, is what sets the requirement for a 30-day vacancy filing. And seasonal businesses in the law are defined as a business which has maintained its address at its current location for 12 months or more and either A, operates for fewer than 6 months in a calendar year, or B, operates for more than 6 months in a calendar year and which suspends operation for between 1 and 4 periods of at least 3 weeks, each owing to a fluctuation in market demand.
Again, what is the purpose of this? Are you looking to force property owners? I don't know how you could do that, to force property owners to keep tenants against their will in spaces so that
No.
there's no vacancy? Or are you looking for property owners to pay the village because we have vacancies? I mean, we have a hard enough time making ends meet as it is and keeping tenants in the spaces in the winter. I mean, we're a seasonal village. So what is the purpose of this? I haven't
I'll
gotten
take that
answer.
question, but basically, we're here for you to put the comments in the record, but I'm happy to answer that. And
Well, my
wha-
comment is,
well,
what is the purpose?
Right. The premise here is that generally you have a few landlords, and I know you manage some property on Main Street, and you guys are always full, and you do a great job managing those properties, which is part and parcel why they're likely not going to be vacant. But the fact of the matter is that we do have properties. I do agree that this probably should include Hill Street, but you've got some eyesores, and you've got some properties that take away from the overall vibrancy of the downtown because they are vacant each and every year. And so we'd like to have these landlords come in, and we'd like to make them do a little extra work so that they can apply for this registry. And it's also my thesis that those landlords that generally thumb their nose at the village, that year after year keep their stores vacant because they simply don't want to transact, they probably won't participate in this registry, and therefore that would invoke a fine that we can give them. But the ultimate goal here is to try to have fewer vacancies and entrepreneurs who want to be part of this village, because the entrepreneurs are the fabric of the village. And when you have more entrepreneurs and more artists and other people like that, they're here making this village a special place. This was actually brought up today at the press sessions, and it was largely applauded. And actually, one woman there actually had felt that maybe it should include other properties and also include vacant homes as well, but that's a different story. The point is that, as I told you at the last meeting, I ran this by a number of business owners, retailers, and they had expressed to me that they thought this was a good idea because no one wants to be next to a vacant store. And there's very specific limitations as what a village can do. And this is probably the most we can do. And I understand those who are free market and believe that government shouldn't tell it to do anything. But the village has plenty of laws on its books. That's what a local government is for. And this is also a public hearing to get public input, to have the Board of Trustees make a decision. And if the public likes it, we can move forward with it. And if the public doesn't like it, then we can move on and focus on something different.
So how much does the registry cost? A property owner.
$100.
$100.
So you have to, so if I have a building with 4 retail stores in it, I have to pay $400 to register if I have 4 vacancies?
That's correct.
You're going to penalize a property owner who can't fill in in a summer. Jesse, really? You're going to penalize a property owner who can barely make ends meet, keeping up with the regulations of a village, the high taxes, the costs, and now you're going to penalize us because we have a vacancy. We can't control a tenant and how long they stay. I just had a tenant leave in the middle of the night. I got a phone call from the police because a truck is parked in front of the building, and they're vacating in the middle of the night, and you're going to penalize me, and now I'm lost all that income? Really? And other building owners approved this? They were all for this? I have a hard time believing that. I really do. Jesse, I've been doing business in this village for 30 years. I cannot imagine that there is one property owner that is all for you penalizing us in this hard of a market. And it's going to get worse.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
for your time.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the board?
I have a comment. I think to add additional, Jesse, you were speaking about how you didn't want the additional administrative cost to the village of the fees for the planning board, which is substantial income to the village. Here we are adding substantial administration costs to the village, keeping track who's vacant, who's not, who's seasonal, who's not, and all because you're hoping some landlords won't register so you can punish them.
We're not hoping that. We also have for transparency purposes, we can have a record of all the vacant storefronts.
I am a store owner in the village. Vacant storefronts are bad for business and they're bad for the village, but this is not the right way to fix it. This is just adding administrative costs and more red tape to the people who own the buildings. And as Ms. Warren stated, they're already having a hard time renting the building. They just add another couple $100 to their bill. They're just going to add it to the tenants, and the tenants are going to have to pay more. No landlord just eats the cost. They add it to the tenant. So it creates even more problems for them renting the space. I think this is a dumb thing. I can't support it.
Okay. Roy, do you have any, I mean, obviously we're working on our sewer, and that's going to really help our downtown and working on our arts and culture district, but does anyone have any ideas about what we can do so we don't have vacant storefronts?
Every town has vacant storefronts. Every town.
Tony, you can come up, but I would like to just hear from the board, and we have the 3 minutes tonight. I understand, and it looks like this is not going to get done tonight anyway, so you might have your wish. Any other comments from the board about what they can do for vacant storefronts?
It's a very tough thing. I mean, we need to, I agree with you. Every village, every town has got vacant storefronts. There are a few that, that never rent their properties here, that just keep their stores vacant, and that's the problem. It's not for people like you. That's correct. I don't think this is going to fix it with the people that are not renting their stores, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's just gonna be more, red tape. We can't control what the owners of these buildings are doing.
I was hoping that we could pass a resolution in creating a downtown revitalization fund, so any fines that we do bring in would go into that downtown revitalization fund. Again, this is a board decision. I thought it might be a good idea to have this discussion, but what I would like to hear from this board is what are we going to do to stop the vacant storefronts? Because it's okay if this board wants to if the board doesn't like my ideas, I'd like to hear from you guys and hear your ideas, and let me know and let the community know what we're gonna do, because there are some vacant storefronts. These are the stores that are vacant year after year. We do unfortunately have a few landlords that use these as tax write-offs that don't want to transact, and they take away from the village. And I am heartbroken when I hear from the business owners that the stores next to them are vacant. So if people have ideas, feel free to bring them forward. But no is not really, the right answer here. So I'd like to hear, Lane, you're welcome to come up and make a comment.
My name is Lane Brett Schneider, 57 Lewis Street. I walked out and came back in the middle of this discussion, And I have a feeling that what we're trying to aim at is the 1 or 2 buildings where the landlord, the owner of the building, is not reasonable. And for whatever reason he's not renting or she's not renting. I think a more positive way to go about it is someone, I don't know who it is, it's certainly not me, should approach this landlord, find a way to get to that person, and if he really doesn't want to rent it, maybe we can talk him into letting a not-for-profit group use the place so it's occupied, or some other positive way of doing it. But to go ahead and put a law on the books, charging somebody, I didn't hear how much it is, $1,000?
It's $100.
$100. This landlord's, that guy that we're concerned with, or that woman that we're concerned with, he doesn't care about the $100, so sue him. I believe that same landlord that we're talking about, when I say we, this board or somebody on the board decided this guy should get tickets, one right after the other. And so the building department was told, give the guy a ticket every 2 hours or every week or every day. That's not how you solve a problem. You find out what the reason is and you then try to correct it. And I think we should start being positive. The beginning of this meeting was so great. It was so positive. I turned to the young lady that was next to me, didn't realize, I think she's recording everything. and I didn't realize who I was sitting next to. And I said, man, do I hope this meeting can continue on a positive note. Let's try to start being positive about things around here. Not trying to figure out how we can get $100 from a guy that doesn't care about $100.
Thank you, Lane. It's more about that. I'll tell you some positive things that I have done. For example, I was a little late to executive session today because I got a phone call from Phil Futterman. Phil Futterman owns that white building on the corner of Windmill Lane and Hill Street that is vacant every single year. And I begged. I said, Phil, we got to do something. We're working on the sewer. The sewer's coming 5 to 7 years down the road, and you have a great opportunity to really activate that space. But the next 5 to 7 years, I would really appreciate if there's something you can do with it. The village will work with you in any way. And obviously, discussion ensued, and I also pitched him on the idea of maybe we can come up with someone who might want to buy the property. Or I asked him, would you be willing to work with the village for some incentives to put some artists in there? That would be the perfect opportunity to have artist studios who could help activate the village. That was a conversation that I had with him. But I can only say so much. I also had many conversations, with Larry Russo. Larry Russo owns a number of buildings in this village. He's got the former Job's Lane Gastropub building. I spoke to Larry multiple times this week. I said, Larry, what can the village do to help? Please let us know what we can do to help so you can get a good restaurant in that location. And he said, well, outdoor dining would help. I said, good, I'm going to talk to this board, and we're going to figure out a way where maybe we can fast track outdoor dining, not just on the streets, which the village owned, which we've already done, which we've gotten great praise from the business owners, but what can this village do to fast track the outdoor dining so that restaurants like the one on Hampton Road, for example, that would like to use outdoor dining, that can use their outdoor dining. And those are the positive things that we're working on. But unfortunately, there's going to be some landlords out there that whatever positive thing we're going to offer them, they're going to reject that. I've reached out to landlords that have spaces on Job's Lane, and they have adjacency to that village parking lot in the back. And I've gone to those landlords and said, I can ask the Board of Trustees for an easement so you can put new septic system under the village parking lot and activate your spaces so that you can have restaurants or coffee shops or wine bars or things like that require wet use. So I've had a lot of those conversations. If there's a vacant storefront, you better believe I've spoken to that business owner, and in the nicest possible way, I've encouraged every possible incentive for those business owners and those landlords to succeed. But again, every now and again, you're going to get a few landlords that just don't want to transact. And I wish the village could do more. Trust me, as the mayor, it's very frustrating to see these vacant storefronts, and I am a business owner myself, so I'd really like to have no vacancies, and obviously we have a little pop with COVID, But it's back to 2019, and it's time for this board to really work together and to brainstorm how we're going to fix this problem. So if this vacancy registry is not appetizing and not appealing to this board, then let's get some ideas. So that's what I'd like to say, and thanks for those comments, Lane. I really appreciate them.
Lane, I compliment you on that idea with the nonprofits. I compliment you on the ideas about the nonprofits. I compliment you on the ideas of perhaps having a conversation with the landlords and having nonprofits being there, as well as the mayor suggested, with perhaps young people or old people involved with art. And for Ms. Warren, my level of expertise is not the same as yours. So my second suggestion would be is perhaps you and maybe 2 other people could brainstorm and maybe bring some ideas that are positive that would perhaps get these spaces filled.
I would love to, and I think the fact.
Lane, you have to come on up.
I think that the fact that the mayor said that he's tried and made an effort with these various people. I'm counting to 10 before I say this. I've tried to get somewhere when I was much younger with a lot of different women, and I don't get somewhere. Some other guy comes along and he does get there. So maybe you're not the guy to be doing it, but there is somebody, some woman or some guy or some company or somebody that's going to be able to do it. So we're on the right track. Let's get away from this, like charging this guy. That's so absurd, this $100. I can't believe we're even talking about it.
Thank you. Well,
It could be free too. It's not, it's just.
Maybe John Forster can help us.
Well, if anyone could help with some of these landlords, I'll be more than happy.
And Ms. Warren, we open the doors to you for any suggestions that you might have. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Would this board be open to having it be of no charge, or is it just a non-starter for this board?
I don't know, I think it warrants more discussion. I think we should
No
take
more red tape.
Yeah, I
Motion to
think.
close the public hearing.
Okay, I'll make the motion to close. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we'll continue on with this discussion items. The first is the Senior Citizen Committee, and I just wanted to thank Pam Gilmartin of the Planning Commission, as well as Laura Davini, for really doing a good in-depth overview of the senior citizen work here. They've prepared a draft for the village. I don't know if are you here for this, Christian, or are you just here to observe?
I'm just here for the end.
Fireworks, okay. So I know Trustee Manger wanted to summarize the work that Pam Gilmartin and Laura Davini did, but I know that they would like to work on things such as starting a village website, to aggregate some of the senior activities, to activate some of our village facilities, to provide links and access to resources, those that don't have access to a computer, to provide a phone number and whatnot. But I know that Trustee Manger wanted to summarize some of the work, so feel free to take it from here.
Yeah, actually, Mayor, thank you very much, and you did a very good job of explaining what they had outlined in their report. They came in to speak to me, as well as Ms. Johnson, and the 3 of them sat down and they said that they really want to see this continue, that COVID interrupted the senior committee. The 3 of them actually said that they would actually like to pass the baton on to a new committee to take this up. And so I would like to work, with the board here to put together a new committee to work on these senior issues. They are very important, and something that this village should really reach out to the older community to try to offer as much support as possible. I will add that St. John's Church, under Father Patrick, has agreed to have the first event of a senior group on Valentine's Day. They're going to invite everybody over there the afternoon of Valentine's Day, all seniors that are interested to come. They may show a movie. I think they'll serve tea. And so he offered to be the first event in this new year. for the seniors to be able to participate in. So we want to get that word out, and then also work to put together a strong committee. I've spoken to some people in the village who are very eager and interested in helping this, realizing that the baton is going to be passed to others to take this up. So that's really all I wanted to mention, just that this is something that is on the radar screen. I have spoken to Trustee Brown and Trustee Rest about it, and I'm glad the mayor has reviewed the document from Pam Gilmartin and Eleanor Davini. So I'd like to just say that we're gonna work on this and make sure that we have appropriate resources and outlets for seniors here in the village of Southampton. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Manger. So I'll move to discussion item number 2. That's the award information of a technology grant, the RFP results, and committee recommendations. I'll let Trustee Resta take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back in August, Charlene had, on behalf of all of us, actually asked to send this out so we could, we were talking, we spend a lot of money on IT services, and we decided to send out an RFP to different companies to see what was out there, or what would the offering would be to us. So Charlene had prepared an RFP back in August, and this was advertised in the standard municipal trade publications. And also at the time, the board approved a subcommittee as part of the Budget and Finance Committee that consisted of Ed Moneypenny and Rose Dios and Jim McNaughton, and also included the mayor. The three of them have experience with IT and getting proposals and things like that. So in summary, 9 proposals were received. The deadline was September 30th. And then after that, during the review, they sorted them out, and the larger, the ones that were, the prices were just way out of range, or they were out of territory. They were limited, and it was narrowed down to 4. So at that time, Ed Moneypenny, he made up a rating rubric for the IT proposal. And the criteria for the rating was location and proximity, annual fixed price, municipal experience, staff size, years in business, the depth of technology experience, expertise, and credentials. So after they went through all the RFPs and they rated them, they were all, they decided that Fluid Imagery, who we are now using and have been using, it was rated the highest, and their recommendation is to stay with Fluid Imagery. So I wanted to present that to the board. Any questions or?
I think that's very good. We can move forward with that tonight, and appreciate the work of Budget and Finance Committee and Charlene, and we will be able to realize some savings there. So thank you, everybody. The third is the Suffolk County Deer Management. This stems from some of the work that Michael Anderson is doing on the Planning Commission. This board had asked him to look into how the village could better manage its deer population. So we have Michael Tessitore here. He's been in front of this board before, so I'd like to invite you to come up and just do a brief presentation. And I am hoping it could be brief. It's been a long night, and we have more to go. So appreciate your time, and thank you for everybody here.
All right, thank you, Mayor Warren and trustees. I'm Michael Tessitore with Suffolk County Deer Management. I know you were expecting someone that looked like Crocodile Dundee, and I'll try to keep it brief. We've had several meetings over the past years with past administrations about deer management. I've been doing this program for 10 years now. We started in Remsenburg, which was a 3-square mile village. At that time, we had about 80 deer per square mile, which was very unhealthy. The main goal, you want to be under 20. When you are above that, you see indigenous plant species being destroyed. When you get closer to 15 and 10, you start seeing tick reduction of 90%. Those numbers aren't realistic for a village of Southampton Village being 7.42 square miles because of just the lack of getting access to certain properties. My background, I'm a police officer with the Village of West Hampton Dunes as a constable. I'm a nuisance wildlife control operator. I've been doing that for 10 years. That allows me to trap animals as well and transport them off of properties. I'm also a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Hunter Ed program instructor in all three disciplines, gun, bow, and trapping. I sat on the Southampton Town Conservation Board for 6 years. And like I said, I have properties in the village that we do hunt on. And I just want to say that in 2014, I worked with Fred Thiel to write a bill that basically made this possible. At the time, we had a 500-foot discharge setback. That means that whether the implement is gun, bow, or crossbow, there's discharge setbacks set to that implement to promote safety. And we had a 500-foot setback in 2013 for archery equipment. And we lobbied extensively to get that reduced to 150 feet, which made it more successful and increased its efficacy for bow hunting in a suburban environment. We have our own bow hunting in sensitive environments course that I give my hunters. We also are insured. I do criminal background checks on these hunters as well. I am very strict in terms of managing the hunter. In the 4 disciplines of deer management, hunter management is what I specialize in. I work with this board very well in the past, and I plan on continuing that relationship. I just want to be clear that while there are stakeholders involved, we pay attention to all of them. Some people do not support hunting, some people do. We cannot compel any property owner to give us access to any properties for something they do not want, and we would not basically cause any conflicts with that property owner as well. My proposal to this board is strictly to work as a conduit and be successful at developing the best deer management program in the country for you, as well as the success that we had with Remsenburg. The first year we took 71 does in Remsenburg and 2 bucks. So we don't promote trophy hunting. One of the points that I want to mention is that, we're not a recreational hunting group. We're a management hunting group. We're not here about fair chase. We're not here to pound our chests and post photos on Facebook. We're happy to have the access, right, to take deer out in areas that you're going to deem work based on recommendations that I will give you, the Planning Commission will give you. And you decide, and by speaking to your constituents and as a group, and we'll make it happen.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can you tell me a little bit about the properties that you're already on in the village, so people reach out to you, private property owners?
Yeah, so in 2013, I have a nonprofit, 501c3 Hunters for Deer, and we did advocacy, and that's how we were able to work with Fred Thiel and Senator Laval at the time. And then a couple of years ago, we created Suffolk County Deer Management to facilitate working with private property owners so that they can keep their anonymity. We can work with them without having to reveal the locations of those properties. We've been very successful. We've had 0 incidents, and to note, there has never been a second-party bow hunting incident in Suffolk County ever. The amount of properties that we manage are about 190 properties. And we're very successful. We actually take 500 deer a year, which is about 12 to 13% of what gets taken in Suffolk County. Hunters in general only take 10% of the deer in Suffolk County to begin with. And I won't get too much into it, but you need to take 23% just to cover fawn recruitment, and that's when fawns are born in the spring.
What happens to the deer after
All
they're
the-
captured?
All the hunters participate in this program because they want access to the meat. So they're more of a purist. They want to have access to that protein source. So all the deer that we take is utilized for food.
Okay.
We used to participate in venison donation programs, but 75% of hunters in general are not successful. So we have a lot of people that we can donate that meat to, that we have a large network. We have a building in West Hampton Beach right by Gabreski. It's 1,700 square feet. We have a place where we can butcher the animals. We have a refrigeration cooler as well. And it's, you know, it's always available to all of you to come down to see.
And are you going to work with the police department to let them know where you're going to be operating so that there's no?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the most
That's
important
option
things.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious to, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's I think, the most important thing when running a program like this. So we would map the properties that we're gonna have. We would work with the police department. As I also was co-author to the Southampton Towns Deer Management Plan, and one of the things that we did with that was we started tabulating data from MV 104As. You know, it was a motor vehicle accident reports, and when an animal is hit by a you know, a deer gets hit by a car, you can put animal, right? So it's never really, you don't have to be specific. It'll say it in the notes, but we worked on ways to make it more transparent that it's a deer. And we started looking at, well, there's fences over here, and the fences push the deer into the roadway. So we had maybe like 18 hot spots where deer were getting hit by cars, as well as, you know, maintaining the license plates and the pedigree of my hunters, providing that information with the police department, working closely with them if they have any reports of an animal on a property or a man in camo. You know, those are issues that I would be able to respond to and work with the police department to make sure that everybody is safe.
How publicly visible is the actual culling moment? In other words, I'd hate to think that some kids or families walking along and all of a sudden there's a deer being hit with a bow right in front of them. How do you control the public access to the actual?
Well, we're going to map out the properties that we're going to be hunting on. So the property owners, as well as the village properties, you know, you're going to have access to know where we are and when we're not there, you know. So, you know, we don't hunt on holidays to begin with. So we always try to limit our exposure. So it's basically the hunt like a ninja mentality. So we don't hunt on holidays anyway. So we try to, when schools are closed, we're not hunting. Those are some of the safeguards that we have in the program. I can go over all of the particulars and how we run it and how we do our mapping and how we have a digital sign up to sign up for the properties. But
So you attempt to do it in a private way.
everything that we do, the deer are not gutted on properties. They're removed in plastic
I know,
sleds.
Trustee Manger, we got the email from Mr. Leonard regarding the problem of the deer in that field that's opposite the library, and that's a very public place, and you just, you know, there's, every afternoon there's 30 deer.
It's basically impossible for a hunter to be in a tree stand and have a shot opportunity in front of him and have something walk in between. I get it all the time with my property owners. They're worried about, you know, their little Shih Tzu Snowball, you know, getting shot by, you know, some hunter in the sand. We have to see what we're aiming at. It has to be within 20 yards. It's elevated, so the backstop is the ground if it does go through that animal. There is no way a kid or an animal can get in between the hunter and that opportunity. Like I said, there's never been a second party bow hunting incident in Suffolk County ever since DEC was creating, you know, tabulating data. And there's not going to be one here. It's very intimate.
Well, I see this as it's become a public safety issue here. And so many residents have come to me and said, you got to do something about the deer.
Right.
You got to do something about the deer. And then I found out also, because I've seen right in my cul-de-sac, I saw a deer either got hit by the car or a train or something, was injured, moaning on the side of the curb, and the police were called, and the police had to shoot the deer. So I dug a little deeper, and I found out that not this past year, but prior, because this past year, for some reason, the number was a little low. It was about 20, 25, but it averages about 40 deer a year that are put into that mass grave that we have at Tuckahoe.
Right.
And I've seen them suffer, and I just think it's inhumane what happens to them. I mean, I feel bad for them. They've really been pushed out with all the development. So, you know, I see it as a problem. I'd rather see somebody eat the meat than just the suffering deer being shot and put into. Well, I myself had a car accident with the deer that came out of nowhere.
Right.
So, you know, I understand it, but people have asked me about that. It's also there's the problem with the ticks.
Correct.
It's a big problem out here.
I have Lyme disease right now.
Oh,
I'm
there
on my
you go.
3rd week of doxycycline.
Yeah.
So that's one of the fears that we have, and that's why I started this program with the nonprofit. And it's always, been free to the property owner and to get access. And we have always done this program in the best possible way for accountability. All of my hunters put their back tag license on their arrows. It's all about accountability for access. You'll hear me say that all the time, that access is everything. We cannot be successful if there's going to be sanctuary property surrounding an area. So, by the village taking control of this moving forward, you're now actually doing what needed to be done a long time ago. And you're spearheading issues that the DEC themselves were unable to do in their 2012, 2016 deer management plan. You're actually looking forward and preparing to make your residents safer,
I mean, I've seen this problem. When I first moved out here 35 years ago, if I saw deer twice a year, that was a lot.
Right.
And now there's a whole family but lives daily, any time of day, not
Correct.
even at dawn or dusk. It's any time of day. But thank you, and I
You're
want to
welcome.
thank the Planning Commission who I went to, Christian Picot and Michael Anderson, who did the research.
Yeah, amazing.
And you were here under the Irving administration, is that
Yes, ma'am.
correct? So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
There's a resolution here on our supplemental agenda moving forward with the deer management plan.
Okay.
So appreciate your time and your efforts here.
All right.
I've had a number of conversations with some other mayors, and they've told me they've implemented some deer management programs. And while obviously it hasn't eliminated the problem, it has controlled a more healthier deer population for their municipality. So thank you again, Michael.
You're welcome. Thank you
Gina,
all.
thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much. So we'll move forward with our suggested resolutions. Charlene,
Can I just ask a question? Did we skip over the communications to the board?
we have communications to the board. Some of those were stated in public comment.
I was just noticing Frances Genovese, though.
You didn't
She
read it.
wasn't.
She sent that in.
So should we just put it in the record, or what do we do?
Yeah.
It'll be in the record, and just to summarize, Frances Genovese's comment was regarding the Liberty Gardens and the DEIS, and she was also, she was making comments about the village receiving notifications from the town, and she urged the village to also, be diligent on the review of the DEIS for
Okay.
Liberty Gardens.
I see this was also sent directly, though, to Andrew Preston.
I received that.
Okay, okay. All right, that's fine. I just was curious what it was, yeah.
Yeah, she actually went to the town and foiled some of the notifications. We do receive the notifications. Some of them are just notices of public hearing or notices of local laws adopted. Back when Liberty Gardens was first on the agenda at the town, there was some interaction. We had some emails back and forth with the board on Ken Gray. That resulted in a letter that Trustee McLaughlin had requested that we write to the village, to the town. And that communication was sent to the town, and we did not receive a response to it.
Okay. I do believe we were supposed to get a report from D&B that the village board requested, and I believe that was going to be completed this week, so we may actually receive something tomorrow.
She did, I believe she did email a draft to me.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to review it because it was later today.
Okay,
And I
okay.
was going to send it to the board for review.
All right, so we can look at that tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, excellent. There also was a correspondence from John Scagnelli. Again, these correspondences are in our book,
Yep.
And they've been distributed to the trustees. Charlene, would you mind giving us a extremely brief summary of John's communication?
Yes, John is the president of the Dunes at Southampton Homeowners Association, and they were requesting that the board consider some type of traffic restriction for large tractor trailers on meadow grass and settlers, because there's been a lot of, through traffic there, people are using that. I guess truckers are using that as a thoroughfare, and a lot of tractor trailers are coming down a quiet residential street. And they were requesting that the board perhaps, take a look at restricting some of the heavy commercial traffic there.
All right, thank you. All right, so Charlene, I'll let you take it from here on the suggested resolutions.
Can I just interrupt?
Sure.
It's been almost 3 hours. I think we should take a 5-minute break, if it's all right with everyone. Because it's 8:40. You've been at it since 4 o'clock this afternoon. Can you
Oh, I
just
think
go
we should
5
just keep
minutes?
going.
We're just gonna
Just
keep rolling.
interesting.
Yeah. That replaces the other one. Kathy,
Water.
this is new?
Water.
Kathy's
Water.
replacing this one.
Please.
Oh, this
Yeah.
replaces
Thank you.
the one you just got.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy.
You guys been at it since 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, so resolution number 1, resolved that the claims for the warrant dated January 12th, 2023 totaling $1,116,768.92, warrant A20, general fund, $109,245.75, warrant H10, capital fund, $500, warrant T11 CS Fund, and $34,945.98, warrant A19 Utilities Fund, are hereby audited and approved. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second?
Quick discussion, just something for this board to consider. We're approving $1.1 million of expenses tonight. When I first started, we used to actually read out every charge over $1,000, just so the public could hear it, and just so we all were on the same page about what kind of money we were spending. We then raised it to $5,000 to keep the meetings moving faster, and then we proceeded to eliminate it. It could make sense to go back to that. This is quite a large expenditure, and I didn't actually see this until now. So I just want to make sure that as the board has ample time to review this. Or does you think it makes sense to go back?
Just as a note, we did not have a second meeting. Generally, our warrants are between $500,000 and $700,000. We did not have a second meeting in December, and so this is actually almost the size of about two warrants.
That's
You'll
right.
see some duplications in here as well. They're two monthly bills because something missed the cutoff last time.
All right, I just wanted to make that clear. I'm
Yeah,
happy
no,
to
that's a good
move
point.
forward, but just something to consider. A former trustee, maybe 20 years ago, implemented that policy, and it wasn't a bad idea. I thought the effort to keep the meeting moving more quickly, but just wanted to put that as a avenue for suggestion. So
What we have done too, since the new, we implemented Civic Clerk 2 years ago, the online agenda actually has the warrant. When it is posted online, the entire warrant is posted with it. Correct,
Okay.
Clerk?
Mayor Warren,
Yeah,
you're
that is correct.
great to be concerned about the amount of money being spent. I've become aware that the village has currently blown through its entire year's budget for legal fees
That's right.
in the first 6 months. Mr. Preston's bill for the last month was $36,000, a large portion of which was consumed with consulting of yours. So I would ask respectfully that if you're concerned about the budget, that maybe you can take a little bit of time to think about that as well.
the legal bills are a public document, and anyone can see who's using the legal services, and so if the average consumer and reader would read them, they would get to know who's using the attorney and who's not, and so ultimately, that's indisputable, and the public can see our bills, and if anyone does have a concern, I would encourage the public to look at those. So if anyone is ready to move forward, we can take a vote here
On
on this resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm also just going to stop this meeting for a second, and this meeting has been
Thank you.
highly unusual and unorthodox and disappointing, but I just received a supplemental agenda. Received no notice of this, and in the supplemental agenda that I just received, it says that the village code designates the mayor as the FOIL appeals officer, and this resolution that the board would like to pass tonight says that the Board of Trustees shall be designated to hear the denial of the Freedom of Information Law. This is the very definition of the lack of transparency. This is something that really, I've really tried to provide records and access to the community. If someone doesn't get something, the mayor can serve as the FOIL appeals officer and make sure that public records are provided to the residents. I just want to let the public know that I just received this right now, and
Mr. Mayor, would you like us to explain why we are taking this step?
you'll have that opportunity, but I just
Okay.
I just fundamentally disagree with that action that is just taken And it's just extremely disappointing to me that we're going down this road. I'm gonna just stay on course here, and do my job. But unfortunately, there's some things that are happening that are just simply, unfortunate. And I just want to let the public know what I just
They are
received.
unfortunate, Mr. Mayor.
They are.
Very unfortunate.
All right, let's continue moving forward.
Resolution number 2, resolved that the reading of the minutes for the public sessions of December 8th and 12th of 2022 are dispensed and the minutes are accepted as filed by the village clerk, and the actions taken at that meeting are hereby ratified and approved. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 3, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton hereby approve Local Law 1-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 116 zoning. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 4, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village hereby approves Local Law 2-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 65, Historic and Landmark Preservation. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 5, the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton hereby approves Local Law 3-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 108, vacant storefronts. Are we approving or tabling? So we have a motion to table?
Motion to table.
Motion to table.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
You're opposed?
I'm opposed to it.
I don't think we should do it, so.
Oh, so you want to,
It's a
you
table.
want to
You-
strike it, you mean?
Well, you want to table it.
You want to table
I
it?
think it should be forgotten, but okay, yes, table.
That's
That's
the.
Okay,
yeah,
so-
Public hearing's closed,
So
resolution's tabled, it's over.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Resolution number 6, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village authorize the village clerk to publish a notice of public hearing to be held on February 9th, 2023, 6 p.m. as a hybrid in-person/Zoom meeting regarding Local Law 4-2023, the proposal to add Chapter 117, Order of Proceedings before Land Use Boards. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Just
All
quick
in-
discussion. Just want to make sure this is something the board is going to support. If not, we'll just table it.
Yes, and in
Okay.
fact, the land use boards are in support
Okay,
of this.
excellent.
Yeah.
Making sure. Thank you.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 7, resolved that the Board of Trustees recognizes the election results of the officers for our 2023 Southampton Village Ambulance Department as follows. Chief Kyle McGinnis, First Assistant Chief Robert J. Murphy, Second Assistant Chief Colby Gill, Secretary Daniel Barry, and Treasurer Donald Mahoney. Is
Motion.
there a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 8, the Board of Trustees recognizes the election results for the officers of our 2023 Southampton Village Fire Department as follows. Fire Chief Emmanuel Manny Escobar, First Assistant Chief Polis Walker, Second Assistant Chief Richard Fowler. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 9, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the contract increase not to exceed $106,000 between the Village of Southampton and DB Engineering and Architects for additional work for the Southampton Village Sewer District design to be paid from Water Quality Reserve. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolved, resolution number 10, resolved that the Board of Trustees accepts a donation from John Sheezer dated November 18th, 2022, in regards to a single galvanized jet ski trailer to be used by the Southampton Village Ocean Rescue. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second. Quick discussion, where is this going to be stored?
They are, right now, the vehicle, and they're working on that with the chief, with Acting Chief Hertel. And they're planning on having some kind of a area behind the police department. But there is some type of a future plan somewhere at Cooper's Beach. We haven't come up with that one yet.
All right, well, we have to keep on top of that, because obviously it's nice to accept the donation, but we should know where we're going to be storing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 11, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the budget transfer 337 to cover various budget shortfalls. Do you want me to read the whole thing or just summarize?
Maybe summarize.
Okay, so there is a shortfall in village clerk salaries. We had an employee who was out during the summer season, so we had to fill that vacancy with a seasonal. So there was a transfer between the seasonal line and the part-time and the full-time line, because while the employee was out, they were not collecting a salary, so we had money in that line. We have a transfer from compensated absences to DPW salary to pay for a retirement payout. We have a transfer from building maintenance salary to overtime because we have 4 vacancies in that department. We have that was $15,000. We have a transfer from police salaries to jail attendant because they needed to hire a part-time jail attendant there. We have a transfer from building department salaries to part-time salaries, that we have a part-time employee that's covering a vacancy in that department. We have a transfer from ambulance part-time to overtime because they've been having their full-time staff cover some of the shifts. We have a transfer from contractual amount to LoSAP for the ambulance as well, to cover some administrative fees for the LoSAP retirement for the ambulance workers. We have a transfer of $12,000 from highway contractual to equipment so that we could purchase some of the equipment through the highway line because of some cost overruns on some of our capital. We have a $1,500 transfer from parks contract to utilities, and we have a contingency of $20,000 transfer to ARB contract for professional services because they've had several Article 78s that required some legal expenses for the village. So the total transfer between the lines is $215,000. So, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 12, whereas the Board of Trustees authorized the village clerk to issue a request for proposal to interested parties regarding the management, maintenance, and support of information technology services for the Village of Southampton, a 1-year contract with the option to renew on an annual basis in August 2022, and appointed the IT RFP Review Committee to review the submitted proposals and make recommendations to the board regarding applicants. And whereas the RFP committee has made this recommendation, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees awards the contract to provide IT support to the Village of Southampton to Fluid Imagery of West Hampton Beach, New York for 1 year in the amount of $82,800 with an option to renew. This flat fee will continue, include unlimited ongoing support and software subscriptions to Village Hall, ambulance, DPW, police, and justice court. Work requested outside the scope will be, the contract will be billed at $150 per hour upon village administrator approval. And just as a source of reference, the mayor had requested that we move ahead with this RFP because of the bills, and actually this will actually save the village a bit of money because we've spent over $89,000 in the past couple of years. That's our average. And this flat rate includes unlimited support during business hours, and they will charge a fee for $150 after business hours, but we did have less than a dozen calls over the last year after hours, because it's really just dispatch in the police department that have after hours. And this also is including the upgrade to all of our new software, and we're going to have Microsoft 365, which will allow us to have more cybersecurity protection. So that said, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 13, whereas a complete evaluation and assessment of the village's DPW equipment was performed by the department head and the village's DPW consultant, which resulted in the need for a new dump truck, the reallocation of funding for curb and sidewalk repairs for future years. Now therefore be it resolved that at the recommendation of acting DPW superintendent and the DPW consultant, in order to meet the needs and operations of the department, the Highway Department 2022 23 capital budget is amended as follows. Decrease sidewalks in the amount of $145,000, decrease curbs in the amount of $145,000, increase dump truck in the amount of $290,000. And be it further resolved that the 2024-25 capital plan will be revised as follows. Delete VACCON truck for $450,000, increase sidewalks in the amount of $145,000, and increase curbs in the amount of $145,000. This was recommended by our consultant, Harry Weed. He actually evaluated the fact that the VACCON truck probably has 5 to 7 years life left, so he's going to remove that. And his suggestion was, since we didn't complete most of the sidewalk and curbing work this season, that we push that to an outlying year so we don't lose the funding. We just are able to come up with a more aggressive plan for the next 2 years, and that they were in desperate need of a dump truck. So that said, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 14, that the Board of Trustees authorizes the village attorney and village assessor to enter into a stipulation to settle Article 7 tax lien litigation between the village and 256 Wickapog Road in the amount of $2,322.79 related to tax years 2020 to 2021 through 2022-23. As identified in the proposed stipulation negotiated between the village assessor and council for 256 Wickapog Road. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolved that the Board of Trustees recognizes and accepts the Suffolk County Civil Service reclassification of Nicholas Cogan's title from Highway Department laborer to automotive equipment operator at a salary of $54,408.08, effective January 13th, 2023. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 16, the Board of Trustees approves the formal request submitted by Acting Chief Hertow, Southampton Village Police Department, to increase George Brown's salary, acting as Code Enforcement Officer, to $32 per hour, effective November 25th, 2022, after his successful completion and final certification as Code Enforcement Officer. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And I'd just like to say he's already on the job, and
Oh,
he's
he
been
is.
great, and
This is good. We need more code enforcement.
he's been really, really great.
Okay, resolution number 17, the Board of Trustees approves the sale of tax liens for all unpaid property taxes for the fiscal year 22-23 will be held at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, March 14th, 2023, in the boardroom. Village Hall, 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York. The notice will take effect to be published in the official paper of Southampton Press. I believe that's a Scrivener's error. That should be 21-22. Is that correct, Andrew, or am I?
It's gotta be 21,
It has to be 21, 22.
Yeah, it
That's
can't
what I
be
thought.
23.
Yeah, because we haven't issued those bills yet.
So I'll make a motion to amend
Okay,
21,
motion from
22.
2020, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, and then on the motion as amended, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution, resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the request from Southampton Village PBA to host its annual Easter egg hunt at Agawam Park on Friday, April 7th, 2023, during the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 19, the Board of Trustees approves the request received from Dr. Zahn, principal of Southampton High School, to host their annual senior banquet at Cooper's Beach during a weekday in June. I would suppose that was the
I think they gave us a date.
the
They
15th. I saw the.
So I think we should put the date
Oh,
in
it's
here.
on.
June 15th, 2023,
From
at the
6 to
request of the
9.
mayor, fees,
13th.
the 13th.
They say they
13th.
wanted to switch it to the 13th,
Okay,
so I
so
want to
it's
make
the
sure we put
13th.
the right date.
Okay.
Yeah, from 6 to 9.
Okay,
they
so
said?
we will amend the
Okay.
resolution to read June 13th, 2023. At the request of the mayor, fees will be waived. So, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 20, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the event application submitted by Bill Kenny, Paragon Festivals, to host their Festival of the Arts to be held at Agawam Park on Saturday, July 8th through Sunday, July 9th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. The sponsor of the event is Evelyn Alexander Rescue Center, a center which rescues orphans and injured animals. Is there a
Motion.
motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 21, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the Ellen Hermanson Foundation to hold its 28th annual Ellen's Run on Sunday, August 20th, 2023, from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. to start and finish at Southampton Intermediate School. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 22, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves Sean Canine as a probationary member of the Agawam Engine Company Number 1, effective January 12th, 2023. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Whereas resolution number 23, whereas the Village of Southampton hosted its first annual Partners in Wellness program, hosted at the Southampton Arts Center, along with Weill Cornell Medical Center, on Wednesday, January 11th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on behalf of the Southampton Village employees. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees supported this event at a cost of $1,100 to be funded by trustee special projects. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion, just want to thank Trustee Brown for putting that together. I understand it was really great. 45 people attended. Everybody learned a little bit about how to keep healthier in their life, and I congratulate Trustee Brown on putting that together.
It was really very nice, Robin.
Thank you.
And they had great food.
Yeah, the food was great.
And healthy.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There's a mayoral appointment. Mayor, do you want to?
You go for it, I'll just make the motion.
Resolved that per Section 107-3 of the Village Code, the mayor appoints Laura Davini to a 2-year term and Nancy McGann to a 1-year term to the Village Tree Commission. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Is there a second? There has to be a second for a discussion, but I would just say that.
Second.
Second, so
Yes,
you've got Laura Davini and Nancy McGann, who's a former trustee. Both are fantastic people, and they give everything they have to the village, and they simply want to serve on a tree commission so that they could help the community. It's required because one of the things I'd like to accomplish is becoming a Tree City USA, and that's required under the law. So I would hope that the board would ratify these two simple appointments for two very nice people who simply want to serve the village.
Well, it's not just about being a nice person, but I had this discussion with you, although I was left out of the discussion, even though I am liaison to the tree committee, that there are other people that applied that are qualified, and I don't even think that you interviewed them, spoke to them, or I never even spoke to Laura Davini about this, or Nancy McGann, and I'm the one who's the liaison and expected to work with them. And I expressed that to you, and I put forth other names that you never reached out to. So I think we need to discuss this a little bit further together with the other trustees.
Well,
I understand it's a mayoral appointment, but there's ways of making appointments. Not I don't even know if these people are qualified to do what you want them to do.
are there any other comments from the board on this? I will say that the fact that this board cannot even appoint Laura Davini and Nancy McGann, a former trustee to this village, who has done nothing but try to serve this village in a positive way, simply because I made this motion, speaks for
No,
itself.
That's not simply because you made the motion, it's the way you went about it. And I don't know, maybe there's other ulterior motives to appointing these people, I don't know. But I was left out of the process, and I feel as liaison to the tree committee, I should be part of the process. And the one very short discussion I had with you, I put forth 3 names of people that are very qualified and knowledgeable about trees, and they weren't reached out to. And they don't understand why they weren't even, no one reached out to them. So I would like to hold this if possible, so we can have further discussion about it.
If you can maybe resend those names, that would be a big help. I'm looking
Okay.
forward to reaching out. I'm sure
Okay.
they're excellent, and if we can't work them into this committee,
Okay.
we can work them in to another one, because we want to get as much help as we can.
Okay,
But
but, I mean, I don't even think these people are in town, but that's another story, so, can we table this?
The process is, I'd like to take a vote. We've had the discussion. The process is simple. It's a simple mayor appointment for a tree commission. And
But you
and
went about it without consulting the person that is gonna have to work with these people.
we
And
did speak about
also-
this.
And you just told me straight out, that's who you were appointing.
That's right.
And I said, well, people, other residents have reached out to me and put their names forth, and they were not even considered, and I just don't think that's fair. You're talking about being fair. I mean, a conversation with people that are qualified and want to step up and be part of a committee, I think that's the right thing to do. And also to consult, and I should have a say in who I will be working with. I think that's only fair. Correct me if I'm wrong, my fellow trustees. So I move to table this.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm opposed. This is, my heart is broken at this point because to see Nancy McGann not getting ratified for a simple tree
Mr. Mayor, this has
committee
got
is-
nothing to do with Mr. Vinnie's and Ms. McGann's qualifications. They are certainly very well qualified. It has to do with the way you go about your business.
We'll keep on moving tonight. There are some supplemental agenda items.
Mr. Mayor, I'd request an opportunity for exec session before we address the supplemental agenda. I was handed it during the meeting.
I think that's okay, but I understand, I know why you want to go into executive session, because one of the resolutions may be unlawful, but I would like to give the opportunity to the board to, I mean, whatever you guys would like to do at this point. I was going to move forward with the.
Is there a motion?
To,
Adjourn to executive session.
well, I think we should continue. Well, it's up to my fellow board members.
But you have you seen these at all?
I received the copy during the meeting.
Okay, thank you, so did I. Okay, Charlene, I'll let you take it from here.
So do we have a motion to add the supplemental agenda?
Motion?
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 1, whereas the approved grant project for the traffic light improvement for the intersection of Main and Jobs, Main Street and Jobs Lane increased in the amount of $63,024.81, and the increase is not reimbursable by the grant, capped at $85,642. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees amends the grant project cost of the traffic light improvement for the intersection of Main Street and Jobs Lane, increasing from $166,526.58 to $229,551.39. The matched increase of $63,024.81 to be funded through trustee special projects. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 2, whereas the population of deer has dramatically increased throughout the village of Southampton and has created a health and safety concerns for residents, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the proposal and contract with the Suffolk County Deer Management to develop a deer management plan for the village with an amount not to exceed $20,000 to be paid from trustee special projects. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 3, whereas in September 2022, Southampton Village Board adopted the comprehensive plan update dated September 2022, and whereas since that time, minor revisions to correct Scrivener's errors omissions to page 92 regarding light industrial designations, and whereas the Board of Trustees adopted a negative declaration for the comprehensive plan in accordance with the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, on September 20th, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Southampton Board of Trustees hereby amends the comprehensive plan update dated September 2022 to correct the Scrivener's errors omissions on page 92 thereof. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second, quick discussion. This was just really an error in the way a specific parcel in the village was coded near the light industrial area off of Mariner Drive. There's nothing substantive about this, so it is really just an error that needs to be corrected.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 4, resolved that the Village of Southampton's Board of Trustees designates Southampton Village Ocean Rescue as an emergency rescue and first aid squad pursuant to New York State General Municipal Law, Section 209-B. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 5, whereas in accordance with Article 6 of the New York State Public Officers Law entitled Freedom of Information Law, the state law, Chapter 21 of the Village Code sets forth the process pertaining to the availability, accessibility, and disclosure of village records. And whereas Chapter 21, Section 21-5 of the Village Code designates the mayor as person to hear appeals for denial of access to records under the Freedom of Information Law, i.e. appeals officer. And whereas the state law establishes important principles for open government and transparency, and whereas a fair and effective appeals process is required in order to ensure appeals receive proper consideration, now therefore be it resolved that Chapter 21, Section 21-5 shall be amended to provide that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton shall be designated to hear appeals for denial of access to records under Freedom of Information Law. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Okay, so what this is here is that the Board of Trustees is trying to change our code. We'll get to that in a little bit, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so that the Board of Trustees is the FOIL appeals officer and not the mayor. So how this works is if a resident or a journalist or any concerned citizen is looking for information, if they don't get it or don't get it in a timely manner from the municipality, they have a right to appeal. And in our code, it says the mayor is the FOIL appeals officer. And so as mayor, I could appeal a decision if someone is denied information. And I'm a purist. I'm generally pretty good at getting information to the public. In fact, it's something that I stand very strongly on. So for me, ironically, to have the Board of Trustees walk this on with the village attorney not even seeing it, is the opposite of what it says the state law is established to do, which is important principles of open government and transparency. To not have this on the agenda, to do this with the village attorney not even seeing it, and then to remove me, who everyone knows likes to get information to the people, as the FOIL appeals officer, to me is the most egregious thing one could do. And I can tell you, you're not going to find one person in this village that's going to support this, because the village residents own this information. It is their information. It is the media's information. It is the public's information. So to say here that you're going to change the village code by resolution, there's so many things wrong with this. It's really hard to unpack, but I think what I said is more than enough. And I'm obviously open to hearing from the board as to why they're doing this and why they think this is a good idea for the public, or why this is even worth our time.
Can we hear from Andrew what your thoughts are?
No, I'd like to hear from the board first, because I know what Andrew's going to say.
I'm interested though from a legal perspective, Jesse.
I will. I prefer to do it in exec session.
Okay.
I'd request a motion to adjourn to exec session.
Okay.
I will answer the question if you want me to, but
I would like
I
you
think
to
I think the
answer it.
best practice is to do this in exec session for advice of council.
Okay.
On a proposed local law.
Okay, that's fine.
Any comments from the board on this?
We're going to move this into executive session.
I'll tell you why this is going to executive session, because this is so sloppily done that what they're trying to do here.
No, it's not. There's a reason behind it, which I'm not going to say
Chapter
in public.
21, Section 21-5 shall be amended to provide that the Board of Trustees of the village shall be designated to hear the appeals for denial of access to records under the Freedom of Information Law. You cannot amend village law via resolution. It is the most simple concept that you learn on day one here. And the fact that this board is putting a resolution onto the agenda that the public has not seen, that wasn't on the village website, and it's done wrong, speaks to the reason why the board shouldn't even be the FOIL's appeals officer. But the fact of the matter is that this is just an opportunity to deny the public information. So I'm happy to move forward with the table of this, and we can discuss this
Mr.
in
Mayor, why do
executive
you
session.
feel the board would be less forthcoming with information than you are? Why are you the arbiter, and the board of 5 people wouldn't do a better job and be more equitable than just your personal opinion about what is good and what is bad? You say you're very interested in providing the public with a lot of information, but you're more of a politician than just sort of a judge. So I think you would like to provide information to people that you think could help could benefit you. I think the board would have a much more evenly distributed matter of opinion about what matter should be shared with the public or not. So I don't understand your feeling that you are so much more qualified than the board to be the arbiter of what should be appealed or not.
Well, the reason why I'm the full appeals officer is because that's what the village code states. And I also firmly believe that the public is entitled to its information. And so, if the public wants something, and they're not getting it, or not getting it in a timely manner, well, I'm going to appeal that. I'm likely going to be on the side of the public. So I see no other reason why, but that being said, the board, you guys are the legislatures, you guys write the code, and so if you'd like to change it, that's on you, but ultimately, there's really, there's no reason to do so, and again, I've stated this is highly unusual and unorthodox to do this and do it in this manner.
I'd like to say something. We have two attorneys here, and from my understanding as reading this, you can advise me, gentlemen. We are simply saying that this is for the trustees. You are a trustee, and by no means are we saying that we're not going to give the information when it is warranted in the correct fashion to the public. I do not believe that that is saying that. It sounds as though you're saying that, but counsel, you can tell me if I'm misinterpreting this.
I don't disagree.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to table.
Well, motion to go to executive session to discuss.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thank you all for coming.
Well, the meeting's not over yet.
I know, but they have to leave the room, though. We can't have executive session with.
Well, I think Vince is going to be, he's on.
Oh, okay, yes, you're supposed to be here for executive session. I didn't mean you to leave, Vince, I'm sorry. It's getting a little late. It's getting a little late, I'm sorry.
That's the board's decision.
We started at 4 o'clock.
We didn't do the comments from board members, but the question is, are we going into executive session specifically for this matter, or are we going into a
Well,
several-hour
we have,
long
we have
Other
other
matters.
things to discuss in executive session, that's true. So I.
There is a post-meeting executive session agenda as well.
Yes, there is.
So I would suggest the board go into executive session on the SUP agenda, adjourn executive session to public, complete public, and then follow the prescribed agenda for a successive executive session for advice of counsel. Although it's your prerogative whether to incorporate both into one.
Well, we already made the motion, so we're technically in executive session at this time, so.
We are, and so I think that this executive session is only on the supplemental agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to go out and back in?
I'm gonna take
In
it.
and out?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
we
take
have
a
to
break.
exit exec session.
We don't have to leave the room.
No, you don't have to leave
No.
the room.
9:31, and I'm making a motion to return to public session. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So there's two things that we'd like to do, we'd like to accomplish. Andrew, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a motion to reconsider resolution number 2 on tonight's supplemental agenda?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote. There's a reconsideration motion.
Do we have to take further action, or that's it?
Is there a further motion to modify supplemental agenda resolution item 2 to approve the proposal and contract with Suffolk County Deer Management, SCDM, as approved by council to develop a deer management plan for the village in an amount not to exceed $20,000 to be paid from trustees' special projects?
Motion, right, I think it's resolution 3. He said resolution 2. Regardless, I'll make the motion.
Resolution 2 is deer management, resolution 3
Oh, I
is
got the
comp
other
plan.
agenda. I see. Okay, make the
Right,
motion.
two.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Is there a motion to modify Resolution 5 to instead notice a public hearing as follows? Resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the village clerk to publish a notice of public hearing to be held on Thursday, February 9, 2023 at 6:00 p.m. as an in-person hybrid Zoom meeting regarding local law 5 of 2023, the proposal to modify Chapter 21, Section 21-5 of Village Code. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Second.
Discussion. So again, I would like to state here, obviously, my opposition to this, but furthermore, reiterate the point that I just made prior to going into executive session. The fact this was done so hastily and without even the village attorney reviewing it, the Board of Trustees actually made a mistake and tried to change a local law via resolution, which is, as I said, unlawful. And so now we have to do this the correct way. And we actually will need to have a public hearing, and people will actually be able to come out of the public to discuss why it is necessary for the Board of Trustees to take the initiative to change our village code about the Freedom of Information law. And so we'll have to have a public hearing to be lawful. So that's what I'd like to put on the record. All in favor?
Further discussion? The reason that the board moved so quickly to enact this change to the code is because we were incredibly concerned as a board that certain information which had been provided to the board during the search for the new police chief, which was highly confidential, and which had been promised to the applicants of the police chief search was confidential, had been foiled, and it appeared that the mayor might grant the appeal to distribute this information, which would be a grave violation of the trust that the applicants to the job of police chief put in this village, that their applications would remain confidential. That is the reason the board adopted this unusual step of moving so quickly to try and prevent this from happening. And that is the reason that this was done.
So you are in fact saying the reason is to deny the public of information that is rightfully theirs?
Job applications are confidential. Any applicant for the job of police chief who had a job with another organization would not want the data that they're applying for a different job to be made public. This is personal information, and I believe Attorney Toomey would back me in this assertion.
I'm going to turn this over to our village attorney, Andrew Preston. Can you let us know what the...
I mean, it's difficult to say what exemptions apply to a FOIL request or a FOIL response when I don't have proposed documents before me. My typical procedure for receiving a FOIL request and providing an opinion to my client as counsel is a request comes in, the FOIL officer performs a search, provides me with documents and perhaps questions. Should I exclude this? Is there an exemption? Is there a possibility? I then review it and provide my legal opinion. So to that extent, it's difficult to give an answer to that question without docs. However, generally speaking, personal information is excludable under public officers law. And there are specific sections of public officers law that exclude portions of job applications, including former employers and employment history. But it's difficult to give I know it's a wishy-washy response, is what I'm saying.
Well, obviously, you can't comment on what the specific thing is. Obviously, you'd have to come to my desk first before providing an appeal, so I don't even know what specifically would be appealable, but in general, my philosophy is that when the Board of Trustees does something, it becomes a public document. Even a text message you might send in a public meeting is a public document. The notes you write are public documents. Emails you send are public documents. Everything is subject to FOIL. And so there are very few exceptions. And obviously, if I were to make a decision, I would clearly consult with the village attorney and abide by what the village attorney would say. I mean, clearly, if it's a request for invasive invasion of privacy, I've obviously denied FOILs in the past that are invasion of privacy. But ultimately, I can't make it more clear to the public that almost everything that we do is public, and we work for the public and the taxpayers, and therefore the information that the public has, that we produce, is the property of the public. It is not the property, which is why I urge everyone to be very careful with what you send, because ultimately what you do is the public. Even if you're texting an attorney who is not a village attorney during a meeting, you're creating a public document, and that is subject to FOIL, and there's no way around that.
Mr. Toomey, can you speak on about the how the applicants, since you were part of the search committee for the police chief, can you speak about that and about those applications that that was so concerning to us that might go public. Can you just speak on this for a moment? I'd appreciate that, just to get some clarity.
Happy to do that.
Thank
And
you.
I very much agree with the village attorney on the benefit of having a specific document to look at before making a FOIL determination. But there are some things under the Freedom of Information Law that are very clear, and Andrew pointed to this. When it comes to matters of personal privacy, especially as it relates to the application process, there are dozens and dozens of opinions from the Committee on Open Government, which has jurisdiction over matters concerning the Freedom of Information Law, that indicate that applicants for positions is a private matter. And if you think about that, we've had the discussion earlier, it's never about one position. We're in the position, like every government, of recruiting constantly. To the extent that members of any body or any person wishes to apply for employment, if we're making a statement that those applications may become public, we're not going to get any applications anymore. I already expressed the concern about police applicants, about how they're going to feel as a result of this process, how one person was treated. If the board is going to make a broad statement, such as the mayor did, that items like this are presumptively open to disclosure by the public, that's simply not the law. It would be not prudent to do that. And frankly, you could be violating the rights of many individuals who could lose their jobs if it became public that they were applicants for a position. So I think Andrew is certainly correct on that. Better to have the documents. This may go back to Trustee Stevenson's point that there are nuances when it comes to FOILs and appeals. And having the advice of competent counsel, such as the village attorney, is certainly important. But having a deliberative body like this look at appeals and decide those together may offer some advantages. It may slow the process down slightly, but as a general rule in life, 5 really good minds is better than 1. So there are pros and cons for doing it, but when it comes to this specific area, I would urge the board to be very, very careful when it comes to information relating to candidates. It's one of the areas of the Freedom of Information Law that's actually most clear.
Vince, I'd like to ask you if you've seen this done in other municipalities where the board is really the FOIL officer.
I have, trustee.
Okay, so this is not uncommon.
It is not uncommon. I'm actually seeing more of a tendency in some communities to have the village attorney as the FOIL appeals officer. It's not necessarily a right or a wrong. There's sometimes a sense that leaving something as important as this in the hands of one person may not be prudent. A village attorney certainly would have the knowledge and expertise in the area that would mitigate some of those concerns. But you act as a board on so many items, it seems like this is an important enough area where if the trustees decide that they should hold that responsibility as opposed to the mayor, despite the fact that the mayor has substantial knowledge of the Freedom of Information Law, the thought might be that all of you together would be more likely to reach the correct conclusion, especially if you're advised by counsel.
I was going to say, I would think that this board would take action after consulting counsel on specific FOIL requests.
There are
And as
certainly
Andrew Preston said, he would like to review the documents and then again offer his opinion to us as a board, and then the board makes that final decision.
some good news. My understanding, we don't get dozens of appeals every year, so I don't think this is something that's going to be a huge burden to the board.
Yeah.
You'd have to deal with these in a timely manner, and I'm sure that the board will. And the mayor's certainly correct. The law has a great presumption of openness, and I know this board certainly supports that. As much information as possible can go to the public, but there are exemptions under the law, and there are reasons for those exemptions, and personal privacy is among the strongest areas that require protection for many, many reasons, but including the protection of job applicants.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Let's not forget here that I haven't even been made aware of what document that you are trying to safeguard against, so clearly I would reach out to the village attorney to make that happen. And then lastly, let's also not forget, this village board had to pay $15,000 to a journalist who made a FOIL, and it was denied. And that journalist sued the village, and the judge said we had to settle. Had that made it to my desk, which it never did, I would have appealed it and had that information released. So the fact of the matter is that we've already gotten into trouble with FOIL. We haven't been as transparent as we should. And again, I don't understand this, but again, this is a board decision, and I'm once again just putting my strong opposition on the record to this. So at this point,
So Jesse, just let me understand though, why would you not want the advice and counsel of 4 other individuals when it comes to a FOIL request appeal? It only happens when it's on appeal. Why would you not want to come to the board and ask for our thoughts and advice on this? Why do you want to make this decision in isolation?
because the law is the law.
But
and,
you-
and,
you
and
heard-
it's
taking
crystal
the burden
clear.
off of
That's
your
not a good enough
shoulders.
excuse, Jesse. I'm sorry.
It kind of takes the burden off of your shoulders for being the sole person who's responsible for that.
No, but it is simple. The village attorney provides guidance. If we need additional guidance, we can call up or reach out to the Committee on Open Government. We could reach out to New York Conference of Mayors, and it is very simple. There's really no.
Well, you're just saying the key word. You're saying "we." So that's what we want to do. We want to make it "we." You just said it.
I would say one thing in regards to your statement that if it would have came to your desk, that this error would not have happened. And I would say that if that was to come to the board, what you're doing is a safeguard now, so that doesn't happen in the future, coming to 5 minds with counsel, that would have been avoided. It's spilled milk now, and that's why we're moving forward with a better way of doing things, so that the information that is due to the public is given to them, and the information that is not is properly protected.
Okay. Thank you very much, Trustee Brown.
So should we adjourn to executive session again?
No, we're gonna. I think you're gonna notice out a.
Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't do
notice
that.
out
I
this.
thought maybe you did it. Go ahead, I'm
I
sorry.
think he did.
I did.
Yeah,
was
he
voted.
did.
It was
He
voted
did.
on.
So
We're
are
not
you-
the
gonna have
discussion came
comments from the
messages
board.
the trustees.
Comments
Don't we
from the
do that
board.
at the end of the meeting?
Oh, sure. Okay.
If you'd like to do that, I can do that. I think at this hour, it could make sense to go to executive session and wrap this up, rather than,
I did have something I wanted to say in the message, so if nobody else wants to say, I'll go first.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
let's just do
We'll
what we
do what I-
usually do.
My goal is to get us out of this meeting
Okay.
and get us home
Well,
and
Roy would
live
like-
to see another day here.
Well, you don't have to
Um,
say anything if you don't
but-
want to, so.
All right, so we'll begin as per usual with comments from board members in alphabetical order. Trustee Aresta.
Thank you. I just want to again say congratulations to Officers Reed and Stetler. I was wondering what the temperature was of the ocean when they jumped in. So that warrants going up beyond, but thank you. They're just, they're really terrific. Since we're speaking about police officers, I was very happy to see incoming chief that was here for the entire meeting tonight, and I welcome his presence. Just a couple of things from DPW to let everyone know that if the weather stays as it is, we're going to start repair along Meeting House Lane to repair that sidewalk. It will be from Main Street to Oak Street. And that work hopefully will start next week as long as the weather cooperates. And this is almost embarrassing to mention these bellies again, but actually the shipping company called today, and they are en route for sure, and the delivery date is January 19th.
Are these the garbage cans?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I said it's almost embarrassing. And just quickly, as I said before about the traffic situation, we hear everyone. We hear all the concerns. I've been up there a number of times now with what a few other people said. I'm going to pay another visit to that area. But we hear everything, and we're trying to do what's best for everyone. And with that, thank you, and for those that are still listening, and thanks for sticking around, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Trustee Aresta. Trustee Brown.
Once again, I'd like to salute our officers for going above and beyond and thank them. And I'm very excited about the installation of our new chiefs and congratulate them. And once again, I would like to thank the board for supporting the Day of Wellness. We're starting the year well with Weill Cornell and Southampton Village. I'm so pleased that it was well received and that our employees know that they are important to us, their state of mind, their health, and we're glad to partner with them. We want to also send a special thank you to Southampton Arts Center, Joe Diamond. Thank you so very much to Justine Buell Carnell, and thank you for Golden Jalapenos for catering. It was absolutely a lovely time, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. Trustee Manger.
Yes, well, this has been quite a meeting, and for those of you out there watching, you obviously saw your village government at work. I would just like to add my voice again to how terribly I felt about Anthony Carter being, taken apart by the mayor in public in front of his parents, his wife, his 3 children. Was absolutely uncalled for, especially when he had told Anthony Carter he would support him. To turn and do that in a public session was absolutely wrong, unconscionable, and it's going to take a long time for you to repair the damage that you have done, Mayor Warren. Thank you.
Trustee Stevenson.
It is late this evening. I'm sorry to take more time, but I did want to talk about how the turning of the new year is often a time for reviewing the prior year's accomplishments, expressing gratitude to those who helped us achieve them, and looking ahead to unfinished goals and new challenges. In the year past, Mayor Warren and my fellow trustees Aresta, Brown, and Manger have worked diligently to enhance the residents' quality of life in our beautiful village. I'd like to just touch on a few highlights. Trustee Manger helped develop a new comprehensive master plan, evolving from the input of our residents, best practices from communities similar to ours, and advice from our consultants. The new master plan focuses on revitalizing the village center, remediating and preserving our natural environment as we become a greener, more sustainable community, increasing the availability of workforce housing, preserving the village's residential fabric, making the village more pedestrian and bicycle friendly, and recommending zoning changes to control the intensity of ongoing development. Key element of this plan is the creation of a sewer system. I worked with Sewer District Task Force Chairman Paul Travis and his committee members to develop a draft of that system's Phase 1 design. The initial phase will serve the village business district, the area which generates the most waste with the greatest proximity to Lake Agawam. The design looks forward to the future enlargement of the system to provide service to the village's residential areas as well. With help from Southampton Town, we are in the process of acquiring the site where the sewage treatment plant will be located. Until the sewer system is built, the cleansing of Lake Agawam will not be complete. That said, the village under Mayor Warren's leadership, and I tip my hat to him for this, has won grants in excess of $5 million, which together with significant private contributions from the Lake Agawam Conservancy will enable us to take major steps to reduce the amount of toxic algae and improve water quality. We have also enhanced our residents' recreational resources. Deputy Mayor Aresta has developed plans to upgrade Moses Park to incorporate a fitness trail, 2 pickleball courts, and restroom facilities. Trustee Brown, the village safety liaison, has been instrumental in securing funding to provide a drone to assist in protecting our beaches from sharks, electric bikes to assist our police in patrolling the village, and a new gator for beach surveillance. The village's boards have also done an excellent job in fulfilling their roles. So thanks to Planning Board Chairman Tony Piazza, Architectural Review and Historic Preservation Chairman Jeff Broadleaf, Planning Commission Chairman Mark Schiffert, and Zoning Board of Appeals Chairman Mark Greenwald, and their hardworking committee members for all they do. All of this and more has been done as we keep a sharp eye on the financial bottom line with the help of Budget and Finance Committee Chairman Len Zananti and his committee. There's been no village tax increase for 2 years, and in the last fiscal year, the village realized a significant surplus. This could not have been accomplished without the excellent oversight of Village Administrator Charlene Cagle-Betts, our department heads, Senior Building Inspector Tien Ho So, Village Clerk Kathy Sweeney, DPW Supervisor Steve Phillips, Highway Department Supervisor Corey Sweezy, Building Maintenance Supervisor Bob Hand, Parks Department Supervisor John Flick, and Central Garage Supervisor Ken Zay, and all of our hard-working village employees. Sincere thanks to them. Each trustee and the mayor contributed their individual efforts towards achieving these results. This board has accomplished many positive things working as a team. That said, it is unrealistic to expect that all members of the board will agree on every issue. That is both normal and I think healthy. Debate and exchange of conflicting viewpoints can lead to better decisions. But that debate should be about rational arguments supported by truth and facts. And I'm concerned, as evidenced a little bit by this meeting tonight, that this is no longer the case. This past year, we have done our best work as a team, and I sincerely hope somehow going forward, we can figure out how to do that again. My guiding principle as a trustee has been to use my upbringing, education, experience, faith, and whatever wisdom I've acquired in my life to guide my efforts to do the right thing for the village of Southampton. I hope you can discern by my remarks tonight my commitment to that purpose. Every day, I witness the love of our residents, village employees, and first responders have for our village. It inspires me to continue to work with my fellow trustees and the mayor to make Southampton an even better place in 2023. I wish you all a happy and healthy new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy.
Thank you, Trustee Stevenson.
Well done.
So as the public portion of our meeting comes to a close, I just wanted to once again thank the fire department and EMS department that came out tonight. We're very lucky to have them with us, and this was a very long meeting tonight. I'm looking forward to a new day. I'm looking forward to moving on and working together with everybody here. And I think the meeting tonight speaks for itself. It's not going to deter my ability to also stick to my conscience at the December meeting, where I felt compelled to state for the record various things. I did quote Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, a novel that I happen to really abide by, and a fictional character, no less, that I aspire to be like. And in that, obviously, he said that he spoke about majority rule and voting and speaking one's conscience. And that's what I've done since the moment I was elected, and it's going to be what I continue to do. I am willing to work with anybody, and obviously the goal is to work for the residents. And every day, every night I go to bed, that's what I think about doing. And so we're going to have to get this together for the sake of the residents here. And so I just wanted to thank the board for getting through this meeting tonight, and we'll go into executive session. We'll close this out, and we'll move on to tomorrow, which is a new day. So thank you very much. I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting well, we're first making a motion to adjourn to public session. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.